everyone? How's it going? Welcome back to the Nintendo Prime Podcast, our rebooted podcast, episode number 29. Today is a special day because Eric Moore is here. How's it going?
Good. Hello, everybody.
And then there's this weird guy. I mean, he's a Forbes 30 under 30 member. Can't forget 2019 edition, Mr. Tim Gettys from Kinda Funny Games. How's it going, man?
You guys invited me to this show, and I said yes. I said I'd be here. I said I'd talk about Nintendo with you all. You didn't prep me. You didn't tell me you were going to drop a bunch of bangers before the show that I had to listen here, bopping my head to. That was fantastic. Whoever made that remix of all the Nintendo opening intro sounds.
Oh, dude, it's literally one of the greatest remixes on YouTube, I swear.
Right?
It is, top fire. Literally, every time I play it, there's people jamming out in the chat. They love it. Yeah. I don't even remember how I discovered it. It was completely by accident, and I reached out to the guys like, "Oh yeah, use it." I'm like,
it's great. It's really great. But thank you guys so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here today, hanging out with y'all.
Yeah, I'm really, really excited to have you here, man. So for those who don't know who this guy is, he's from Kinda Funny Games, also Kinda Funny. They got kind of a duality going on there for a long time after they split off from IGN back in the day. They do a lot of great content. Although I do have a question for you, quick.
Oh, hit me.
Where's the Nintendo podcast? You guys got an Xbox one, a Sony one?
That's the thing, man. Over at Kinda Funny Games, youtube.com/Kinda Funny Games, we have many different shows. We have Kinda Funny Games Daily, which is our daily news show. We have the Kinda Funny Games Cast, that's kind of general reviews and previews across the industry. We have XCast, which is Xbox, and we have PS I Love You XOXO, which is PlayStation. Our lineage really was PlayStation back at IGN, specifically with Greg Miller. So that made sense for us to launch a specific PlayStation show. It wasn't until last year, leading into what is now current gen, leading into then next gen with the Xbox Series X, our boy Snowbike Mike was like, hey, I want to do this Xbox podcast. So we made it happen. Nintendo's so near and dear to my heart. I'm a Nintendo fanboy. I always have been. I always will be. But the problem is, especially in the last couple of years, Nintendo hasn't really given us enough content to be able to make an entire show when we have so many other shows that can cover the exact thing. So the reality is, any big Nintendo thing that happens, we're covering it on the Gamescast. Yeah. Like it's our covert Nintendo show that only talks about the stuff that matters, Yeah. I'd love to do one day. It would make so much sense. And especially with Janet Garcia, who works with us a lot, I'd love to get her on as well. But one day, maybe. I don't think we have a need for it right now. But trust me, we know the demand is there.
I just had to ask, because I know you're basically the Nintendo guy of that group. Always have been, always will be. It was just one of those things. I'm like, I gotta ask because I know the XCast got added last year. I was like, okay, what's up with this? Is Tim really gonna let this fly and not maybe push for it a little bit when the time is right?
Yeah, there's a lot of factors that go into it, but I mean, a big thing is Xbox with the XCast, especially with Mike. It was like that was the first time we launched a show that was featuring people that weren't full-time Kinda Funny employees, so that kind of allowed us a little bit more. Whereas I don't know if I have the time of the day to add another gaming show to our lineup, and I don't know if there's listeners out there that want to listen to another thing we're putting out. So.
That's
one
true.
day,
I mean,
perhaps.
I'd listen, but I mean,
I appreciate that. I
already listened.
But listen to the Gamescast then, because that's where we're talking about Nintendo.
Believe me, I'm well aware. I barely have time to listen to other people's content, but it's like you're the Gamescast. Every now and then I turn into the PS I Love You XOXO. But then also Easy Allies podcast. I listen to theirs as well. Usually when I'm doing other stuff in my life. But I don't have time to listen to a whole bunch these days. It was a lot easier when I was younger before I had children. And, then
it happens. Things. Shout out to Easy Allies, by the way. Love them so much, man. Hubert, baby. Let's go. I love the hype, and I love your guys' shirt right now with the hype responsibly.
I mean,
that's something I have never been able to do.
But, we just launched this merch. We've been talking hype responsibly for, gosh, has it been almost 2 years now? We've been saying hype responsibly because bottom line is like all these big events, like we got the Game Awards, we're about to get into that in a moment. It's really easy to get overhyped. Like I think all the Switch Pro stuff that was happening all summer long and been building up for a couple of years, and then all the disappointment when it was just an OLED model announced. I think a lot of that's because people weren't hyping responsibly. It's like, yeah, it could happen. It might not happen. Nintendo hasn't officially announced anything. So, yeah, Bloomberg's putting out some legit reports or whatever, but let's not just expect the sun and the moon. Let's wait and see what happens, and then you won't be as disappointed. I always feel like it's good to expect the least and then just be happy if you get more than that. That's kind of what I'm expecting for the Game Awards.
Being a Nintendo fan, it has been like that, hasn't it, for our entire lives. But the thing is, at the end of the day, it's like there's a lot of perspectives. I know that later in the show, we're going to talk a little more in depth about this type of hype culture and all of that. So I don't want to get too ahead of myself here, but ourselves. But I think that with Nintendo, it's complicated. You say the sun and the moon. A lot of times we're not asking for that. We are just kind of asking and expecting things that seem a little bit more real and like a little bit more simple and a little bit more like, well, no shit, they will do that. Why wouldn't they? And then when they don't, we're like, what? Why didn't they do it? So it's like a double whammy of disappointment where it's like, not only were we hyped for one thing and didn't get it, we also aren't getting what we really truly believe we should be getting. But at the end of the day, we get amazing quality video games, and Nintendo really has a magic that no one else does.
That is really like what keeps us around is that, to be honest, because like even something simple, Bluetooth audio, being able to use headphones that are wireless, like felt like should have been there day one. We knew there was Bluetooth. Why don't we it's such a basic feature? And then like even the one thing that really upset me, I guess, at the beginning of this generation, because I was really excited for Switch, was, we're back to friend codes again. Why?
Yeah.
I thought you corrected that on Wii U. I'm confused. That was like one of the good things you did on Wii U. Let's keep that. Well. Oh, well. So let's get into what have we been playing lately? Eric, have you even been playing anything lately? Because I know you've been hyper busy with work lately. What's been going on?
No.
I know we've been trying to get a Back for Blood session in.
Yeah, I know that needs to happen eventually.
Got to finish that campaign up.
Yeah.
At least.
No, I think the last time I played was Mario Odyssey on one of my trips out to Rapid City, which next weekend, not this coming weekend, but the following weekend, I'm going back out. So it'll be
another game time.
And this time I don't actually have anything planned while I'm out there for outside of work. So it's going to be probably a little bit more gaming this time around. So possibly finishing up Odyssey.
Are you gonna bring your Xbox Series X out there to play Back for Blood with me?
Yeah, try to lug that through the airport.
mean, it might get checked, and
I was gonna say,
ask if it's a bomb or something. I have no idea.
You do realize that I only travel with a carry-on and a backpack. That's it. I don't check baggage.
Light carrier. Well, it's perfect for the Switch, I suppose.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, I already get funny looks with pulling out 2 laptops, 2 cell phones, my Switch, and
Well, it's like when we go to E3 and they always look at my stuff every single time, and they're like, okay, so you got a laptop, you got this microphone, audio equipment, you got a green screen, you got a monitor. Who packs a monitor?
Yeah, right.
Dude. Like, we have to live stream from the hotel room plus do our stuff at E3, and I got to edit. Yeah. We have a lot. Pack it up because we're out in Wisconsin. It's a haul to go out there to Cali, so we gotta try to bring the whole studio with. It's a pain in the butt. I mean, airports are just doing their job, but it's a pain in the butt.
Life of a content creator, man. It gets smaller and smaller. Shout out to Elgato, man. Honestly, they changed the game when it comes to so much of this stuff, making it so much easier than it used to be.
Oh yeah, the fact that I can just pack a cam link now, that is just. That's just another piece of equipment I can just not have to worry about anymore. It's so cool.
Absolutely.
All right, so Tim, what have you been playing lately?
I've been playing. I know it's a Nintendo show, so I don't want to go too deep into this. But Halo Infinite, man, as of the day of recording this, it is officially dropped. It is out. Everyone can play it. If you have Game Pass, you should definitely give this thing a shot. I've been a Halo fan since day one. And sitting here now, I can't believe what 343 has been able to pull off with the campaign. Having a great time. Have been having a great time with multiplayer the last couple months with the test flights and all that. On the Nintendo side, I am kind of going back to my origins as a gamer recently. I've been really kind of hyped on the Analog Pocket that's coming out. Finally, we're going to get our hands on it later this month in December. Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So
I've been debating on whether I'm going to pull one in or not. I didn't support it initially.
Yeah.
But I have
Yeah.
I've been the people have been trying to convince me. So convince me.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, the thing is, I for people that don't know, Analog Pocket, Analog is this amazing company that makes retro game systems. You can play original cartridges on it, and it just tries to give the ultimate experience of how it used to be, but now in modern times. And this is their Game Boy that they're making. They announced it like early last year, I want to say. There's been a lot of delays because of supply issues and all that, but it's finally coming out, and I'm really excited. And it seems to be the best way to ever play Game Boy games. So because of that, and Game Boy Advance and Game Gear, and like pretty much all the old school portable games. So I've been really excited for it. I can't wait for mine to come in. It fits my aesthetic. I'm real big on like white tech. So I got the white version. There's a black one as well. But I've been like considering, what am I going to play on it? And one thing that I've realized is one of my favorite games of all time that we'll get to later in this episode is Super Mario World 2 Yoshi's Island. And I feel it is a game that does not get as much love as it deserves because it came late in the Super Nintendo life cycle and all that. And at the end of the day, I know it's not Mario World. It's not Mario 3. It feels lesser than to a lot of people. It was the first video game I ever beat. And so it'll always hold a special place in my heart because of that. But it's not just the nostalgia. It's a very high quality video game. I'm going on too much about this. We'll get to that stuff later. The reason I bring it up now is it was ported to the Game Boy Advance
Yes, it was.
in the form of, if I want to say this correctly, Super Mario Advance 3, Super Mario World 2, Yoshi's Island.
Yeah.
They
can't just make it like a collection or something. It's got to have the extra long name.
Exactly. Because Mario Advance 1 was Mario 2. Mario Advance 2 was Mario World. Mario Advance 3 was this, and then Mario Advance 4 was 3. I'm pretty sure.
It's kind of like the Final Fantasy numbers difference between Japan and United States. Who the hell knows?
It gets ridiculous, yeah. But what I loved about the game, I mean, that port had some issues. The colors weren't right. They added all the Yoshi story sound effects for Yoshi's voice and stuff, and it was irritating, not great. But they did add some exclusive levels. I think there was like 6 challenge levels that they added, and they're super, super cool and awesome. And I've never played all of them because to get them, you need to 100% every single world, every single level, get every single collectible, all the things. And despite this being a game that I've beat more than probably any other game in existence, I have never truly 100%ed it. So I've been really looking forward to doing this. And I've been, I know,
how you praise that game. I'm shocked.
Yeah, me too, man. Me too. But I've just never fully done it. So I've always kind of started and stopped. You know what I mean? Like I'd get through World 1, World 2, and then just got distracted and never went back. But I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do it. And I've been waiting for the Analog Pocket to get there. But here I am. I can't fucking wait. I got my Switch OLED. I got the Nintendo Switch Online system, and I've just been going through, trying my best to 100% it, and I am having an utter blast, man. And playing that game on the Switch OLED is chef's kiss. Beautiful. Oh, those stark, dark blacks. I love it so much.
Yeah, and the thing is, I don't have any other OLED device in my house except for my iPhone, and I didn't really realize that this was a true OLED screen because I always had the blue filter on, right? So like everything kind of looks washed anyways. So I turned it off, and then I held it up next to the Switch OLED, and I was like, why don't I have more OLED panels and TVs in my house? What's wrong with me? This is the only way to game. I swear.
You will never meet a bigger OLED supporter than me, man. I cannot believe the technology. It is fantastic. It honestly enhances so many things. I mean, I'm talking about a game that came out in 1996.
Yes.
And looking at it, I feel like I'm playing it for the first time visually. It just adds so much to the art that's there. It's how it's supposed to look. The colors are correct. And man, I've been lucky enough to have an LG OLED TV since 2015. Like I got it like really early because it matters to me. And I've had it ever since. And anytime I can get a screen to be an OLED, I am trying my best to get it because I love it. My phone has it. My Switch has it. Like, I mean, the Vita, I was so stoked that it was the PlayStation Vita was really the first consumer OLED screen ever. Like otherwise it was
way too expensive back then.
It was like $12,000 for like a tiny little thing that you could look at a Best Buy but never actually buy, you know? So I'm really, really stoked that we've gotten this far. And I was so bummed when the Vita revision came out and they turned it to LCD instead of OLED. I was like, no, but I get it.
Yeah, it
Mhm.
happened. So let's see. What have I been playing? It's been a few times. Well, today I booted up the Halo Infinite campaign for the first time. That was fun for the little bit I played. I only got about an hour in, but it was really fun. I can see why people seem to be pretty excited about it, but we'll see how it plays out as we go. Obviously, been able to do the multiplayer here for a little while, I think one thing that's benefiting Halo Infinite at this moment, at least from a multiplayer perspective, is that we've been so oversaturated with like battle royales. To have a quality non-battle royale multiplayer arena style game come out is just refreshing in the market at this exact moment. And you can say, some people might say, well, yeah, but what about like a normal Call of Duty? Well, there's a lot of reasons people aren't really caring about Call of Duty at this exact moment, with everything going on at that company. So it's nice to have something that actually plays well. I know that it's not perfect, guys. I know there's some people complaining about like certain colors and skins being locked behind spending money, and I hear you.
Welcome to gaming
I hear
nowadays.
you. Like red and blue, I think is like locked, and like that's like a classic Halo, like the red blue. But hey, you know what? At least it plays well. That's what I really care about. So that was something I've been diving into lately. I've actually, because of my viewers out there wanted to torture me. I've been playing Pokemon Brilliant Diamond because, of course, they had a vote on that to be the thing I'm playing on my game streams. And now I'm playing it until I at least beat the main story. I ain't planning to catch all the Pokemon, get all the shinies. I just do not care about spending time with a game that I'm really not enjoying.
So let me stop you there. So you're saying that they're torturing you. Are you not a Pokemon person, or are you specifically not enjoying these games?
So I loved Gen 1 and Gen 2. Absolutely. Gold,
Mhm.
silver, and red, blue, yellow. Amazing. I really was into that generation. Spent
Mhm.
huge chunk of my childhood
Yeah.
playing those games, early adulthood playing like awesome. But then as it got into like Generation 3 and then Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl, or Diamond and Pearl at the time, and moving into all the other ones, Black and White, and everything else in between, because there's so many damn Pokemon games. I didn't like a lot of the changes. I felt like it was taking something at that time, anyways. This is how I felt back then. That was simple and meant to be this really simple, fun RPG mechanic, and starting to overcomplicate it by all the different things they added in to now get the best Pokemon in the game. Shinies, as an example, like that wasn't a thing in Gen 1. You didn't get shinies. There wasn't like hatching eggs and like trying to get the best combos of things and having all the
Gen
stat
2 though
differences. Yeah,
brought all that.
yeah, I know. So like
Mhm.
I was really into Pokemon, and in some regards I still am in some cases. Like I was all over new Pokemon Snap. I was so thrilled with that one because I've been waiting 20 years for a sequel to what I felt was one of the best games of my childhood on the N64 that I don't know that anybody played.
Oh,
um,
everyone played it that time at least.
yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, just like I still miss Stadium and Coliseum. I wish we had something like that still. And I thought like the Pokken tournament, stuff like that was all fine. And I'm really like honestly the most hyped I've been for a Pokemon game is upcoming Legends Arceus, because it finally looks like all right, we're actually going to do something fresh and different with the franchise instead of just reiterating the same thing, but then adding extra layers of complexity on top. Which, by the way, as I'm discovering in Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl, there might be a lot of complexities, but unless you're in the competitive scene, it really doesn't matter. Um, because you can just pretty much Shrek the whole game with your starter Pokemon, and it doesn't really matter. So what I'm not enjoying about it at the moment is that, and maybe this is just because I'm older and I've played so many RPGs over the years now, that it's just too easy. I don't care about the competitive side. So if I just care about the game, it's just too easy for me. So I'm like
yeah.
going through, and it's like, okay, I'm grinding, I'm fighting the trainers, I'm going through the same story that feels really similar to every other Pokemon game I've played. I know there's an Elite Four. I know, okay, Team Galactic. They're like, okay, that's like the Team Rocket replacement, same difference. Um, it just feels very. I understand that it's a remake of an older game, so like, or a remaster. I don't even know what you want to call it at this point. Um, but it's not clicking with me, and I've had this talk before. I don't know what happened. Like, what happened when Gen 3 hit? And I just, nope, I'm good. And since then, I've tried several times to get back in. Now I'm forcing myself to beat this because of my the request of the fans. But and like torture is a bit of an overstatement. I wouldn't say it's torture. It's just I'd rather be playing something else. It's whatever. I'll be done with it before the end of the month, anyways. But yeah, I don't know. Like it feels weird because I was such a mega Pokemon fan, and then it just I don't know. I guess I'll wait for another trading card game like they had on Game Boy back in the day. I like that one a lot too. So like I don't know.
Yeah.
Something just isn't click, and I know it's like the same for Eric here. Like
they-
something just doesn't click anymore.
They lost me when they, originally started bashing me over the head with the gotta catch 'em all. And then we expanded and expanded and expanded it to the point where now it's almost, impossible to catch them all.
Well, there's no national decks
And-
anymore, so I guess you
yeah,
could say you
right.
got easier to catch them all.
Yeah, but I mean, I thought they should have had each individual generation its own
You mean
standalone.
not be able to carry Pokemon over.
Yeah, its own two standalone like generational games.
This
like
is how you know you haven't been a
Red and Blue.
Pokemon fan for a long time. That mere idea would just piss off everybody who plays Pokemon.
If it never happened.
That's why the national decks was such a controversy because.
But I
people
mean,
can't
if
bring
they
some of
had
their
never
favorites.
started that, nobody.
Well,
would be,
yeah, I suppose if they never started it, that expectation wouldn't be there, and it would be okay. I can see that. I mean, because then at that point you're kind of treating it like a Zelda game or like a Mario game. It's all standalone. Every game's on its own. Like, it might be a sequel, but you don't need to play any.
You got your two, your red and your blue, your black and white, your diamond pearl. Those are their own core games.
Ruby Sapphire.
Yeah. That's where I think they lost me.
Sure. I do have a question for you though.
Yeah.
Did you enjoy Let's Go?
Yes,
Because that was Gen 1.
It felt back
Yep.
to Gen 1. It brought back nostalgia. So
Well,
yeah, of
nostalgia's
course I did.
a big factor in
Yeah.
enjoying a game like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially Pokemon. I'm keeping a little quiet here, just because I want you guys to give your thoughts here. I am similar but different to where you guys are at, where I am somebody that considers myself a huge Pokemon fan. But I've played every mainline Pokemon game. I've beaten every mainline Pokemon game. But I am in a similar boat as you guys. As I'm definitely Gen 1, Gen 2 are my faves. I was born in 1989, so that adds up that I was like 8 years old when this thing first dropped, and was as obsessed as you could possibly be. The Target demo, right? But I still really enjoyed the games going forward from that. But playing Brilliant Diamond and Pearl, like I'm not going to complete these games. Like in our review, like we were saying, like there's something about it that is boring to me. I'm not into it. Gen 4 was never my favorite to begin with. I enjoy it. There are elements of it that are fantastic. I think when you look at all the Pokemon generations, like post 2, and not to say that 2 is perfect, because it's definitely not. That is a game from 1998 that like they still weren't really quite sure what they were doing. But every gen adds something, and it's a cool idea. But then I feel like the next gen, they'll take it away and they'll add something else. There's a lot of gimmicky stuff. It doesn't always work together. Something I really do appreciate though about Gen 4 is they treat their Elite Four a little better than in a lot of the other generations have, and has some great characters. And I think that character is what really can make a Pokemon story special. So it's not just the same thing over and over and over. Because at the end of the day, that's what it is. It's the same thing. The 8 badges, the Elite Four. You're choosing a starter. It's always the same types of fire, water, and grass, right? Like, been there, done that, we know. And to a certain extent, that's our fault for being 30-plus-year-old men playing these games again. But there's another side to me where I'm like, I don't buy that, because Blue, your rival, Gary, in Pokemon Red and Blue, was an asshole.
Yes.
Can we say that on the show?
Yeah. Oh yeah, you're fine.
Oh yeah,
we
cool.
can swear.
Cool. In Gen 2, your rival was an even bigger asshole. Like, they were actually a bad person. Like, Gary was just kind of like a jerk.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then I feel like from Gen 3 onward till now, the rivals are always kind of like the dorky, weird friend that like is annoying as hell, but like you don't. It almost reaches a point that it's not a rival. It's almost you're like, I just don't even want to talk to you. Like, I don't even want to battle you, bro. Like, get out.
Well, that's exactly what I feel like in Brilliant Diamond right now. Like, I name my rival his name, and it's like, okay, well, yep, you pop up here and there, you dip out, you act like you have ADD, and I honestly just do not care. Like they could eliminate you from the game, and I would just be cool with that.
Who
Like,
let the spaz in?
I had more fun. I had more fun. Like, what was it the Dawn or whoever it was that I helped navigate through the forest to the one town? I was like, I had more fun with you. At least you were like battled with me and stuff. I mean, I didn't need you to. And your Chansey was cool, but like, I didn't really need your help. But hey, whatever. At least it felt more interactive and something different that wasn't there in the first couple of generations. But yeah, man, I think they, based on my experience, they ruined the concept of a rival. And I don't really know that that's a big driving factor for Pokemon anymore, going up through Sword and Shield now. But
I mean, the problem is, to me, it is. And
well,
I don't want to go on too long about all this
point
stuff.
of it, I
It's a
always thought was the
problem because they still have them, and they're still a core part of these experiences, these games. Like something that I really loved about Sun and Moon, which weren't my favorite Pokemon games by any means, but I did like that they broke up the format enough so that it was something different. We're kind of having these challenges. I don't think the challenges are that great is the problem, but what it did in addition, everyone always talks about how Sun and Moon is great because it at least did something different. While that's all true, it also did something that I loved more than anything about Gen 2, and that it connected these regions. I love when you're in one region and they're talking about other regions. The fact that you beat Red and Blue and you're in Kanto, and then you play Gen 2 and you're in Johto, going back to Kanto, it's 2 years later that there's been growth and this world is lived in. What's Koga up to? Oh man, he's no longer a gym leader. He's now in the Elite Four. It felt like a world that was growing. Whereas Gen 3, 4, 5, 6, it really kind of just feels like, yeah, we're just making another game. And everyone has their first game. And I'm sure that people feel the same way I do about the OGs as they do the new gens. But to me, I appreciate that Sun and Moon, to an extent, talked about Kanto a lot, right? Like they would like reference characters, like you'd see Red and Blue in it. It felt a little more connected. And I really like that type of world building because it's a world, man. Like if we're going to catch them all and if we're going to have all this stuff, I like when we get these connected characters. It kind of just feels a little bit like going through the motions when here's another professor, here's another rival, here's another blah, blah, blah. You guys know what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah. All right. I don't know if I've really been playing much else. I'm like in a Madden 22 league, but no one wants to hear about that. It's Madden, same thing every year. Which I mean, part of me feels like Pokemon sometimes is the same thing every year. But although I mean, they do some different things. It's just a lot of remakes. They've kind of got this cycle now. Like 4 of the last 5 years, we've had a new Pokemon game. We'll be 5 for 5 technically for a little bit because of Legends Arceus. But
True.
Legend Arceus. We'll save that conversation for January because I feel like we're getting a blow off for that pretty soon here. So that's gonna be really exciting there. So I guess let's get into our first big topic of the day. And that is the Game Awards, which guys happens tomorrow night. Like
Holy cow.
It's here. And what's crazy about the Game Awards is at least this year, it almost feels like it might be the biggest gaming event of the year. It already was sort of building up to that over the years since it got to the point where Sony backed out at E3. And now this is the only event that has all 3 major platform holders potentially showing games. They're all there at least. They're all acknowledged. Plus all the other major publishers and indies devs getting mixed in there as well. Maybe not as much the indie devs compared to like an Indie World or the other indie events from the other competitors out there. But they're still there. They still get recognized.
I mean, I don't know if you saw, but Keeley was a couple days ago, or maybe it was even today, saying on Twitter, like we're repping the indies. Like it's not just big guys. Like we're repping them, and like that's awesome.
That's mad respect because I feel like, especially during this year, especially I think in general, really felt like for a lot of the year, it's really the indie devs that were kind of carrying the story of gaming because obviously there was all the we got like the Medium earlier on Xbox, like way early in the year, and then you had your normal games come up, and then Returnal on PlayStation. Okay, that's cool. But there wasn't a lot happening in between these releases for most of these companies. But there was a lot of indie games coming out. The indies were kind of trying to take advantage of the scene a little bit, which I don't think it was intentional. I think the indie games are coming out every year. But it felt like a year where it was time for, at least from my perspective, for gamers, especially from Nintendo's perspective,
Well, that's the thing is, I think from Nintendo's perspective, you're absolutely correct. I think from the industry at large, I think that especially being a PlayStation fan, like there's been a lot, man, with Ratchet and Clank, with Deathloop, with Returnal, with like their rate of releases has been pretty
really
damn impressive
and badass for a while now. I've actually been really impressed with Sony really since like I guess year 3 of PlayStation 4 and on. It
Yeah.
feels like they really hit a stride and it just hasn't stopped.
It's admirable, man. It has not stopped. It doesn't look like it's going to stop anytime soon. And going back to the Nintendo side, like,
Take note, Nintendo.
I will never ever forget how emotionally fulfilling 2017 was for me.
Right.
Like the Switch being announced and
That
it
was almost
being like,
a year.
whoa, it is the thing we all were talking about. It is both a portable and home system. Nintendo is going to only have one system they're going to make games for instead of having to divide it between two. So for the first time ever, perhaps we'll be able to get a cadence of releases that actually make sense for a system as opposed to two systems that don't have enough releases. And then 2017 happened, and then 2018, and then 2019. And we're just like, oh my God, Nintendo, they did it. They did it. Mario Odyssey, Breath of the Wild, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, right? Boom, 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 all this stuff. And then, Animal Crossing, and then it's been kind of quiet.
Yeah.
But then we got Metroid Dread, so I can't even complain.
Yeah, that's the thing. When they come back with the Metroid Dread, I mean, yeah, Bowser's Fury came out in between. That was fine. Hyrule Warriors.
Amazing. I love Bowser's Fury.
Bowser's Fury. It's so good that I almost wish they split it off from 3D World. I love 3D World.
Yep.
But it's like it almost feels like I think a lot of people missed on playing that game because it was tied to a game. Oh, I already have that on Wii U. Do I really want to spend $60 just to experience what's this tiny little side game? It's so tiny, but it could have been expanded and built into its whole. And I'm of mind. It might have been an experimental thing for the next Mario game, but we'll have to wait and see because
absolutely
it does feel kind of weird. We haven't really had a new mainline Mario release since Odyssey back in 2017, and we're almost to 2022. Like,
I mean, yo, dude, I don't know why I'm even going to put this out in the world because, like, I think it's crazy for me to say, but I have a feeling in my soul that 2022 is going to be the next 2017 for Nintendo. And I think that we're going to get
I don't think you're crazy.
Pokemon Legends. I think we're going to get Breath of the Wild 2. I think we're going to get Mario Odyssey 2. And I think we're going to get Mario Kart 9.
Oh, okay, that's the one.
Oh,
that's the one that it's like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe just became the best-selling Mario Kart of all time. And I have this in the back of my. I've been wanting Mario Kart 9 for a while because I played the hell out of Mario Kart 8 back on the Wii U. So for me, I understand that Wii U didn't sell very well. So for a lot of people, Switch is the platform for Mario Kart 8. But man, Mario Kart 9, it's such a system seller. It's such a massive game, and that's one reason why I'm like, well, look how well 8 Deluxe did for Switch. I'm keep thinking, are they just going to save it to launch the next platform? Because it would be a sick launch game.
Dude, here's my thoughts on this, and I've talked about this a lot on our shows, but I've been playing, just like you, Mario Kart 8, an amazing video game, potentially, in my opinion, for sure, the best Mario Kart game.
Oh, yeah.
Since 2013. Since 2013, we've been playing this game. 8 years. 8 years we've been playing Mario Kart 8 or Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, right?
Yeah.
I have 100%ed both versions of this, all of that, right? Where we're at now, Mario Kart 8 continues to dominate the sales charts and all that stuff. And I understand the argument of like, why would they make another one? This one's selling so well. And to anyone making that argument, I want you to think about it just a little bit. If it's selling so well, why not make another one? You know what I mean? Call of Duty sells well. Guess what they do? They make another one.
Yeah.
Why wait for the sales to die out? Which, by the way, it's a very Nintendo thing. We've talked about this on the show. It's a very Nintendo thing to wait for sales to die before they do something. I think that's actually hurt them in their platform transitions because they just let it die out, then think they can just reinvigorate when everyone's already moved on. That was the issue, I think, with the Wii. And then I think that's been an issue with going from the NES, N64, and GameCube, where we saw each successor one sell less and less. They didn't release the new one until nobody really cared about the current one. NES was a little bit of an exception because they carried that one a lot into the SNES era, and maybe that affected SNES a bit. But I mean, that was like the, I don't know if you want to call it the golden days, but that was the early days. You know, it wasn't the beginning of console gaming, folks. I might not have been alive, you know, when the Atari and all that stuff was a big deal. The Commodore 64, like I get it, but that was like the golden era when Nintendo brought it back and really made it mega popular. So I don't blame them for carrying the NES for a little bit longer. Nintendo had no idea what they were doing at the time. So, but since then, I feel like they always let things die out, and they do this with their games as well. I mean, just look at the length of time there usually is between Zelda releases, like brand new ones.
Well, to be fair, Zelda games traditionally haven't sold all that well, right?
Yeah,
like
I know.
I think
isn't it weird? Like every now and then you get a banger that hits 6-7 million, and then the next one sold 3, next one sold a couple.
And
you
I
got
mean,
Breath of
you
the Wild
know,
out of nowhere. So
one of the craziest facts, and I bring this up a lot, is the older games, like the scale at which games sell nowadays. Games are mainstream now in a way that they weren't then. I don't think that's a crazy thing to say. And evidence of that is, do you guys know how much Chrono Trigger sold
not
off the top of your head?
No.
Take a guess. How many millions do you think?
The original release. Let's see.
Mm-hmm.
Probably half.
I
Half a
think
mil?
So, I think it's sold like 2.5.
It was around 1 million.
Around one. Wow.
Is what I remember.
Is so good. It deserved way more sales than that.
But like, we talk about it, and it is a classic. It's an amazing video game. It went on to sell 2.31 million, and that's over time with the re-releases and with everything and all that stuff, right? Okay. But like, isn't that just absolutely insane that like the sales numbers were that low back then? But like for some of the most classic games of all time.
Yeah.
Just the scale has changed with everything. But having said that, even with this changed scale, Zelda games until Breath of the Wild have never been these gangbuster sales number beasts. And I think the Switch has changed the Nintendo scale. We've seen it franchise after franchise after franchise.
Yes,
highest selling Fire Emblem, highest selling Kirby. Absolutely. We're going to see it with everything, right? This will be the highest selling Metroid game. And it's like, when you look at that, that's why I take it back to Mario Kart. And I'm like, all right, you have so many millions of Switches out there. And if everyone and their mom and their daughter and their sister and their brother bought Mario Kart 8 Deluxe to play on their Switch in 2017, guess what? They'll buy it again now when it's Mario Kart 9 for that Switch they already own, or the Switch Lite they bought their little sister, or the Switch OLED that you want an excuse to buy. Right? Come on.
Yeah, my excuse is I'm a YouTuber.
Yeah,
I probably wouldn't own one. By the way, I'm absolutely thrilled I have it, but like as a general consumer, I probably would have never bought it since I already had a Switch. But I mean, the OLED screen does make that big of a difference. It's just not something that I don't know that I could justify $350 for, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But what's interesting about tomorrow is we obviously have no idea what Nintendo's going to do. Clearly, we almost never have any real idea of what they're going to do at the Game Awards. They've been surprising over the years. Sometimes they tease. Sometimes like they tease that they were going to announce like Challenge Fighter 8. I think last year at the Game Awards, they teased it the day of the Game Awards that was going to be unveiled there. And I think it was Sephiroth that got unveiled for that one.
Mm-hmm.
And they've had a presence at almost every single Game Awards, but they've had at least one game they show off.
Funky Mode,
was
baby.
shown off there twice. Breath of the Wild was shown off there twice because of all the delays with that.
But it was like the showing of Breath of the Wild.
Oh yeah, like the very first actual gameplay. Game Awards 2014, like the very first Game Awards. Boom.
Yeah,
we're showing off.
We had that. We had the funky mode being added to Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. No, you know what? Was that what it was?
I think you're thinking. Are you thinking of the Cranky Kong announcement that happened at the Spike one?
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah. Cranky Kong being playable.
The thing that basically I feel like caused the downfall of Spike TV ever doing Game Awards again, which actually ended up being a good thing in the end.
I think the downfall
there
was
a
TV.
lot of bad things about that.
Yeah. But yeah, there was that, and then Joker obviously being in Smash was such a mega moment. Like Game Awards and Nintendo have went hand in hand for many years, but I do think that it's difficult and foolish to try to look for patterns because you're right, Nintendo's unpredictable. So I am equally like, oh, they're going to announce the release date for and title for Breath of the Wild 2 tomorrow. And I'm also like, there's definitely no chance they're doing it. It is 50-50. Like, who the hell knows?
Well, it's like you said, like you're on this path that like 2022 is going to be like a repeat of 2017. Like one game you didn't even mention, Splatoon 3. Splatoon 2 dropped in 2017.
Amazing
Splatoon 3 is going to sell 10 million plus copies next year. It's going to happen. Like it might even outsell Splatoon 2 now because there's so many more Switches on the market. It's already one of the biggest games in Japan. It's like it's already going to blow up there. I mean, Japan at this point is basically the country of Nintendo gamers because just nothing's really selling. Every now and then you'll see like a Sony game pop up on the charts when it first comes out and then it just vanishes after a week. Crazy. It's great. I mean, even the Xbox has actually gained a little bit of ground over there. I've been very surprised to see Xbox kind of growing in Japan, considering how poor Xbox One and 360 did over there. But when you look towards next year, like when you think about what could Nintendo do at the Game Awards, I have no clue, but I know that Nintendo's not stupid. and they know that there's more eyeballs on this single event than there pretty much is anything else that happens. I mean, even E3's numbers this year weren't super impressive.
Mhm.
Summer Game Fest did get better by Jeff Keighley. That was nice, but even then, last year wasn't it like 83 million people watched the Game Awards or something last year, and they're projecting over 100 million this year. So it's literally the biggest eyeball event. And now, can't forget, Switch is in China now, and that's a big market right now with the Game Awards that they gained last year. So Nintendo's got a reason to also market to them. So it's going to be interesting because we already know about a bunch of big games. I mean, we didn't even talk about, like, Sparks of Hope is coming from Ubisoft. Like, I mean, people might think, oh, it's not that big a deal. You guys know, like, the original one sold like 8 million, 8.5?
Yeah.
Like, he wasn't a slouch. Like,
Great
it outsold every Zelda game that
2017.
ever exists. But Breath of the Wild.
That was 2017. Look, 2022.
2017.
Gonna be a remake.
It looks
Yeah.
like it's repeating. And the thing is, these are the games we already know.
So then, does that lead us to? We're all thinking it's setting up for Breath of the Wild 2 to be released. Is this where it comes in with Odyssey 2?
Well, I keep thinking,
At the Game
I think
Awards.
the one reason some people have some confidence in Breath of the Wild 2 because they said Breath of the Wild 2 is launching next year. And this presumes they don't keep the tradition of they announce a launch year, then delay it, because that's what they've done with Zelda forever. But assuming they actually hit that target year, well, then it wouldn't really make sense to be at the Game Awards. If it's at the Game Awards next year, it would be for an award, for probably up for Game of the Year or something like that, as long as they didn't botch it, which I don't think anybody thinks Nintendo's going to botch a Zelda game. They usually don't. So they do have a lot. I will say they do have a lot of pressure on them after Breath of the Wild. They really set that bar at a level that Zelda's never been under that kind of pressure. So we'll see what happens. It's always rated really well. We're always reviewed really well. But even Skyward Sword, that some people don't like it was still a 90+ reviewed game.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the scale was just different. Where back in the Ocarina days on N64, like that was transformative, right? And like them going to Majora, I think they proved that they got the sauce. They know what they're doing, and I'm hoping that Breath of the Wild 2 kind of follows that trajectory of like, we know what we're doing, and it's gonna be what you think, but it's also not gonna be that at all.
Well, what I love too is like, one of the big things they broke in Breath of the Wild they broke a lot of traditions, but like, oh yeah, the green garb isn't even a
straight
part
up
of anything.
yeah.
You could find it if you want,
It's
but
blue.
it doesn't matter. It's blue. Blue's our color. And like, you get to this game, and all of a sudden, here's Link falling out of the sky looking like a Greek god. And I'm like, what? Okay. Like, they literally just do not care about Zelda traditions anymore. They're just going to make the best goddamn game they can without any restrictions. And I love that. I think that's always been, as a big Zelda fan, that's always been something that, as much as I've loved every single Zelda game, I also felt like they kind of felt tied to the traditions. And the moment they broke free from them, it was like, oh, here you go. Here's what Zelda could have been this whole time if we just kept the Zelda 1 concept going forward and didn't start to, which wasn't necessarily bad. Like, I think the past, all those games ended up being really fantastic, but it's just a very different kind of game and really opened up the audience, which is something that I'm very curious to see if Dread ends up opening up the audience for Metroid Prime 4. Because Metroid's always been despite getting a decent number of releases over the years, it's never been, a really big seller at all. I mean, it sells at Kirby levels.
No.
It sells at Kirby levels, and Kirby only sells a couple million. So some Kirby games outsell Metroid. So it's And then we got Kirby the Forgotten Land too. God, you can't forget that. I'm not even sure what that game is at this point. I mean, 3D Kirby. I got it. It's 3D Kirby, which is exciting in and of itself, but I've never seen 3D Kirby. So let's see what happens.
Yeah.
Feels like a game that should have existed back in the N64, to be honest.
Well, Kirby and the Crystal Shards, right? On N64, they like kind of wanted it to be that, and then it ended up not being that at all. It was more 2.5D Yoshi story style.
Yeah, people were hoping for it because we got Mario 64, and they're like, oh, if they're doing that with Mario, they're gonna do it with everything. Look, they did it with Zelda. They didn't quite pull that off with Kirby,
Yeah. I'm not the biggest Kirby fan, so we'll see how this all goes. But
yeah, that's the thing. I'm not a huge Kirby guy either. Like, basically, I've played. Well, I played, I think, Star Allies and stuff.
Yeah,
but
that was fun.
But I mean, to me, the only one that I really say that I'd ever replay at this point is like Return to Dreamland. But that's what that's almost feels like a cop out at this point, because that's like the one game that everyone remembers. Like, oh yeah, well, everything keeps being based on that. We should break from tradition. Well, they're breaking from tradition, so let's see what happens with that game. I'm cautiously optimistic that maybe they do something, because it's like, hey, look, the Switch feels like a boundary breaker. It launched with a Breath of the Wild that broke the boundaries of Zelda. I won't say that Mario Odyssey necessarily broke boundaries. It did a lot of really cool things, but I mean, I think Galaxy was probably a bigger boundary breaker than that. And Galaxies were fantastic. Those games are amazing. And then now we have Pokemon trying to break from tradition with Legends Arceus. So we'll just have to wait and see. By the way, there's supposedly a new Xenoblade games in the work too, and that was a 2017 game. So
Yeah.
I have no
see.
idea. I mean, it's looking like next year. I mean, just in general for all the platforms, 2022 is looking massive.
Yeah, potentially. I still think that it is not rocket science to say, but like we're still in a pandemic and
Yes.
anything can happen. And do not
for
trust any single date being said. It's just who knows? It's take it with a grain of salt times a bazillion. But here we are.
Yep.
On the
And I can
day
tell
of
you
release
one
of
date.
Halo Infinite. Like, think about that. It happened. They did it. They actually released the game. Not only did they release it, they released the multiplayer early. Like, early from the delay, but
and for
still.
free for everyone, not just Game Pass people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that was the exciting thing to me. I'm like, yeah, I have Game Pass. It's whatever, but it's free for everyone. Oh, well, that was a really smart idea. They've never done that with Halo. Cool. So one thing, though, that I hope makes its date is Sonic. So they had that Sonic celebration earlier this year, and good old Jeff Keighley is doing his best to not make people hype responsibly, because he's got to hype up his event. Even though he did tell people, he did tweet out 90% of the rumors or whatever you're hearing about the Game Awards are just bullshit. He was letting people know, like, he was telling them to hype responsibly without saying the word. But then he's like, oh, by the way, we have Jim Carrey, and we're unveiling the Sonic 2 trailer for the movie that's coming out in April that we haven't even seen yet, with the poster drop that happened today, which, my lord, that is such a callback.
Here's the thing, man. Like, I'm a mega Game Awards fan. I love them. I love the work Jeff does. Obviously, it's not perfect, but I literally think that it is the greatest example of anything close to this that we have ever seen, and I'm so happy it exists. It is the one platform that you'll see Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft all on one stage. That is unheard of, ever. And it is now commonplace. It is something we can expect every year, and every year just gets bigger and better. And with rare exception, obviously, last year was last year, so it was a little bit different. But even then, they had hype moments. There was big deals. We know going into this, we're getting the Sonic 2 movie trailer. We're getting the Halo Paramount Plus show trailer. We're going to get our first actual look at Sonic Frontiers. In my opinion, that's already 3 things that I'm excited to see. That's not even including all of the surprises and shit. So I'm like, we're going to have a dope show for sure.
Well, then Jeff Keighley comes out. He's like, oh, yeah, we're going to have like 3 or 4 games, the level of the Elden Ring gameplay that they had prior show. And it's like, okay, like that was literally one of the biggest things that I think's ever happened at the Game Awards. And you're telling me we're going to have like 3, 4, 5 things to that level. And I presume Sonic Frontier might be one of those things. Because
no.
You never know. You never know.
That's not one of them. That's not one of them.
You don't think it's one of them?
They wouldn't talk about that before it happened. Like he wants to keep the hype and surprise. He knows that Sonic Frontiers is a known quantity. He knows it's going to speak to a audience. He's not talking about that when he's saying those type of announcements. And I also think that we have to keep in mind that the Elden Ring gameplay was like so incredibly hype because people were waiting for the gameplay itself. But like, it's not like it was a game announcement. We knew Elden Ring was a thing, which is why people were excited for it.
I mean, that's why, like, if Breath of the Wild 2 was one of those games where we get the first real gameplay, it's like, that's like an Elden Ring moment. That would be mega hype, 20+ million seller potential here. You gotta.
Oh, absolutely. All I'm saying is, like, I don't think that the 3 or 4 things on the level of Elden Ring means 3 or 4 things that are the most crazy exciting. You'll never expect this coming announcements ever. I think it's more in line of like, hey, the thing that you really hope is here might be here. Yeah. And that's exciting.
Yeah. That's what me as a Zelda fan is. I'm holding on. Yeah, I'm holding on. Like, I fully expect that there'll be like a Zelda medley or something. Because he said he did mention that they'd be recognizing various anniversaries. And he loves his music and he's got his orchestra there. So I presume there's probably gonna be some Zelda stuff, some Sonic music, maybe some Metroid. It'll be probably some grand medley, for a bunch of different anniversaries. Because this is like a big. There's a lot of anniversaries this year.
Yeah.
It was.
Oh, it's
insane. But let me see. So he confirmed the Sonic stuff. He also teased something that apparently he's been working on. He didn't necessarily say it was a reveal, but some sort of thing he wanted to show that he's been working with the company for like 2.5 years to get it at the show. And that's where again, a lot of Zelda fans got hyped because years ago was the original unveiling of Breath of the Wild 2. Doesn't mean it's going to be that. Could be literally a game that's never been announced. Could be properties from a billion different places that have been, kind of teased and poked at for a while. I mean, there's also Metroid Prime 4, which ended up getting rebooted. If it was a Nintendo thing, maybe it's that because we have no idea what the hell Metroid Prime 4 is going to be because it got development hell, got rebooted, and now we don't know. Um, you know, it, it's going to be really interesting to see what it is. One thing I think is working in the favor of the Game Awards this year too, is that as the world is like slowly kind of coming out of a pandemic and kind of getting back to normal, not everywhere. Oh, there's new variants and new crazy things going on out there, but as it feels like we're starting to come out, it also feels like there's a lot of really great things that we're aware of on the horizon. Now, whether or not Horizon Forbidden West, there's
Mhm.
oh, but presuming that doesn't get another delay, which I really hope it doesn't because I finally got around to playing the original one, and yeah, that was a damn good game.
Oh yeah.
So like that's hype for next year. Um, and honestly, I think that missing this year is probably why Microsoft has so like there's like this narrative I've seen. And maybe it's just a Twitter narrative, and Twitter has its own narratives for everything these days. But like a lot of gaming journalists like being accused of being like Xbox fanboys right now, and it's like, well, Xbox is killing it right now. What, would you expect them just to ignore that fact? Like Sony doesn't have a major game at this exact moment out, and Nintendo hasn't had their major stuff happened in October. You have a Shin Megami Tensei 5 last month, but that's great, but it's not like a super popular IP. And Pokemon Brilliant Diamond is just a remake.
Mhm.
So like, what's capturing people right now? Forza Horizon 5 that just blew people's minds with its visuals and its gameplay on everything, even from Xbox, even the Xbox One version. It's like, damn, this isn't a game we thought was possible on Xbox One. And then obviously Halo Infinite ended up actually being a good game when it was in development hell. And we
A
got an
great
update
game.
on that from
Like
Jason
I,
Schreier, who told us how much development hell it was in, and yet somehow we got a good game out of all that. So don't worry about the Xbox bias, folks. The media is just going where the narratives are at the moment. The narrative is Xbox is doing really well right now. We got to acknowledge it.
video games are in a great place, and I feel like if you are a gamer, there's been no better time across the board, especially when you look at the big three of Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft. Each one of them is bringing something unique and different to this generation, and I think that they are really killing it in their own ways. And yeah, people are going to have their thoughts, and the console war stuff is so silly to me. I think that the biggest reason for the console war is the people that don't have the luxury of being able to own every console and be able to play everything, and that's a lot of people. But that is a perfect thing for me of looking at it and be like, well, then no one should be upset at what Xbox is doing because they're trying their best to make sure anybody can play this on their computer or on their Xbox or on their old Xbox or in the cloud or on their phone or this or that. Like, the future is looking really damn bright for these type of things. And I think that the more high quality games that can be made that more people can get access to is only a good thing. And the moment that you are able to be privileged enough to have access to any game you want, you start to realize like that console wars are stupid. And the only good thing about them is there is a kind of fun, going back to what we were talking about earlier, rivalry between people of like, let's bring some heat. You know what I mean? Like, let's have some fun together. Like, I miss the days of the Sega Nintendo kind of Sonic Mario
Sega
rivalry that it was like, they're dropping quality.
Literally
straight
an
up.
official ad.
Yeah.
Like that was awesome back then. And then you even had like more recently, I'll never forget the shade thrown by Sony to Xbox with the Xbox One versus PlayStation 4 reveal at that E3. And like, oh, do you own your games? Do you not own your games? How do you share your games with friends? And the mixed message Xbox One, and then the Sony's like, and this is how you share your game with friends on PlayStation.
Yeah.
It was like it was clear shade thrown, but it's all in good fun. I don't think Sony meant anything bad. It was just taking advantage of a situation to market themselves.
Microsoft brought that on themselves.
Oh, they did. That was a messy E3 for them. This it's like you're getting different. Like, what was it, Don Matrick at the time? Like, just different messaging from him, and then the people under him with different messaging. No one is this a multimedia box? Is it a game console first? Like, what is this thing? HDMI pass through for your cable box. Like, what are we talking about here? Why are you packing Kinect in? That doesn't make sense. That should be out. It was just weird back then.
Yeah.
But one thing that I think gets overlooked sometimes with the actual Game Awards is that it's an award show. I really like the award. I obviously think they can always be done better every year. I've kind of had the same criticism every year of how some awards just kind of rushed through and rambled through, and
Or forgotten.
or just forgotten. There was one year where the award wasn't even announced, and it didn't show up on their website till like 2 days later. It was really weird. And there are a lot of awards, and I've mentioned before that I think doing a 2-night event might be a little bit better, where they can split some of the esports and community stuff into one, and then do the bigger RPG, action game of the year on another night. But that's just my idea. There could be a billion ways they could make the Game Award presentations a little bit better.
I have so many thoughts on this, and I don't think that they're the most popular thoughts for a lot of people, but it comes with a lot of actual knowledge of the industry and how the stuff works and the realities of the back end.
And aren't you guys on the panel, I think, for the
yeah,
90% vote?
we have been one of many people that vote for this, and
one
like
of many.
I can say, like, Jeff cares, man. Jeff Keighley fucking cares about this stuff. He listens to the feedback. He knows what people are saying, and there's just a reality to it all. Of I know that it's easy for us to look at it and be like, oh, it's an award show, but like, you're focusing more on upcoming trailers and stuff than you are the actual awards. If they focus on the awards, nobody would watch it, and that's just the fact. Like, there's no getting around that. And the reality is, like, we look at other game award shows, other ones like the BAFTAs or DICE, and people, it does not get the views.
Conference.
Like, dude, exactly. Like, the award shows exist where the focus is awards, and the mainstream doesn't care. Not even the mainstream. The hardcores don't care. People do not watch it. Take award shows and apply it to the Oscars, the Grammys, all that stuff. It's the same thing. The ratings are going down because it's just such a weird niche thing. And like, we can talk and we can, be on our high horses and be like, we want to see the awards. This is an award show. The reality is, numbers speak, blah, blah, blah. We're here for the announcements. We're also here for the speeches and the awards. And I really think, are doing their best job of trying to make it as entertaining as possible while also rewarding the people for other stuff. There was one side of this that does not get talked about enough. And it's that the awards actually fucking matter. Being on stage, being able to like have the winner, having this moment, all that stuff is very nice and can be extremely, extremely important. I know this from experience. Greg Miller won Trending Gamer of the Year in 2015.
Really great speech, too.
He gave a speech and he fucking used that platform and he killed it. And I'm so proud of him. And to this day, people talk about that.
Oh, yeah.
Not every speech is that. And that's okay. It doesn't need to be. But the reality is, Game Awards matter. I saw a whole, anytime we talk about Game Awards, there'll be comments on YouTube and Twitter and everything and being like, none of this matters anyway. Like, it's all a bunch of bullshit, whatever. It is not bullshit, man. If you go to a developer, if you go to a publisher, their lobbies of their offices are covered with these awards. They mean something to them. This allows them to get more funding for their next project. These awards allow them to put things on Game of the Year versions of their games to sell more, to reignite an interest. Game awards are so important to these developers.
Well, and then you can go down to the dev level. I mean, you could say I worked on the Game of the Year. Here's my credentials. This helps me get a better job, a different job if need be. They do matter.
Yeah,
they matter a lot, and I think there's just like a lot that's not talked about, because just because the award isn't given the entire focus or like talked about on stage and all this stuff at the actual award show, the award itself matters. Being nominated matters. It's not just winning. Being able to say that you're a Game Award nominee is absolutely huge. It gets so many eyes on these games, and I love how many indie titles are nominated throughout all this. And I know people have their thoughts on like, wow, what garbage is this? Like, how are you going to have these games but not this? That's what gaming is nowadays. There are so many high quality games coming out that they can't all be nominated. And sure, some of the topics and some of the categories can be kind of goofy, where it's like, well, okay, family game. What's that mean? Is it essentially just best Nintendo game of the year?
Yeah, I mean,
right. I don't know.
Like, all the nominees but one are Nintendo games, and it's like, okay, but like, what do you consider a family game? Like, so one of the Nintendo games on there, okay, but that's like a solo game experience. Is that family? Like, when I think family, I'm thinking like more party like experiences. You play with everyone on a couch, co-op.
Yeah.
Like, that's not what some of these nominees are. So what is this? Is it just these are E-rated games? So that's what we're going.
Yep.
It's weird.
And then there's the other side that is like, there's a category of like best strategy or sim game. A simulation game and a strategy game are completely different.
Right.
Not even in the same realm.
But neither one of those alone is going to have enough nominees to justify its own category. And just a little inside baseball for everybody, like, and this is public out there, but like the way these things are voted on is there are these 100 outlets or whatever. Kind of Funny is lucky enough to be one of them. And we nominate games, and for each category, our team needs to nominate 5 games. If we cannot nominate 5 games, our votes don't count for that category.
Okay.
So guess what? Best fighting game? If we don't have 5 fighting games, then we are like, we stand by these. We shouldn't have a voice in this. It doesn't make sense, right? So it's like there's so much science and like numbers and data behind why the categories are what they are. And Jeff and the team are trying to showcase games. They truly love games. So I don't know. I just wanted to, I'm sorry to be on my soapbox here, but I just think Game Awards are a truly special thing.
You're fine. I have been defending the Game Awards like crazy against a lot of those comments that come out, because I've always felt the Game Awards mattered. I was one of those people watching it on Spike TV, really interested in who was winning. I might not be making the games, but I recognize that there's an importance here. There's an importance of recognition that goes beyond, like, I'm a gaming commentator. We talk about games, and I recognize how important it is to just get that recognition out there.
Totally.
You can disagree with the nominees. You can think it's rigged. You can think whatever you want, but the recognition matters. And so when everyone tells me the awards don't matter, they don't matter to you. That's fine. That's your opinion. That doesn't mean they don't matter. They matter to somebody. And for developers, it probably matters to every single person on that team. Heck,
absolutely.
there are some people that I hate this, but there are some teams that tie bonuses to even getting nominated. So it's Metacritic ratings as well. I don't like the way some of those companies tie their bonuses to
things get complicated with all that, but I mean, that's the company's problem,
that's
not
the company's
Game Awards problem.
Not every company's that way. So
Real quick, I'll be right back. I need to run to the bathroom. Sorry, guys.
That's all right. Yeah, you're all good. You're all good. So Eric, we got the nominees for Game of the Year, right?
Yep.
So Resident Evil Village, It Takes Two, Psychonauts 2, Metroid Dread, Deathloop, Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. Now I know personally you pretty much haven't played any of those games.
Correct.
Okay. So as an outsider, you're just looking at it. No Nintendo bias. The Nintendo bias is always Metroid Dread.
Yeah.
Like what one of those games, as someone who hasn't even played them, do you think deserves to actually win that crown this year?
I know with our betting special, I am 90% sure I picked It Takes Two.
Yes.
What little I've seen played of it, it is absolutely phenomenal.
It's probably the best co-op game, period, in a long time.
So there's that. I know the little we've seen played of Psychonauts 2, it was a really good game as well. I wish I could play that. I mean, actually I can, because Xbox Live. At Game Pass. Damn it. Jesus. But yeah. No, I think they all probably deserve to be there. I haven't played them, any of them.
Quick thing. We had a super chat from Miles Dolding. Thanks so much for the $5. He says, if there's a most anticipated game award, which there is, and
Breath
of the Wild might get its first award. We'll see what happens. There's a lot of great games in that list. Don't you think it would be fair to have the most disappointing game award? And I think there's a fairness there from the standpoint of, it would make sense, most disappointing. But there's also, do we really want to use this giant platform with 100 million people watching to shit on games?
No,
because that's basically what most disappointing is. It would be shitting on games.
Yeah,
and like there's game developers that put 70-hour work weeks for 5 straight years into these games, and if it disappointed people, they don't want to be reminded on a national platform, on a worldwide platform, that their game disappointed millions of people. Like, it'd be a shame award. And we don't want that. We want to celebrate games. We don't want to shame, people. So
look, the reality of that stuff to me is there's going to be 10 million YouTube videos talking shit about the thing you want to hear people talk shit about. Go there to find that, right? The Game Awards are trying to be something very serious. And I don't even want to say, it's the Academy Awards for gaming. I hope it's better than that. I hope that 10 years from now, this show is truly freaking incredible. and representative of all the best that video games have to offer, because video games are one of the most thriving industries in the world. And beyond all of that, who gives a shit about sales? Who gives a shit about anything? Video games matter. Video games mean so much to so many people. And we need to reward the people that make them, the people that pour their hearts and souls into these experiences, this art, this fun, all of that stuff. And I think that Jeff and the team, again, while not making every step right, for sure, is listening and cares. He fucking cares. That's what matters. And I think that we need to support that, because there aren't enough people that care that are in positions of power.
Yes. I mean, I always thought that personally, I know there's some people out there that don't like Jeff Keighley or like the way he presents things, and that's fine, but no one can question how much he cares, guys. He literally put every penny he had to even make the Game Awards happen in the first place. Like the very first show, he funded it all just to prove it was viable, so he could get sponsors to make it more viable for years future. Because obviously, if he's just paying for it out of pocket every single year, he's gonna go broke. He's not gonna make any money.
I mean, to be fair,
he makes money.
I guarantee that Jeff Keighley is sitting pretty right now. That's after many years of work to earn it.
I'm sure for him, there's a lot of nerves on that very first show. It's like, I put all this money into it, and there's no guarantee this is going to work and be successful, that we can pull enough. Yeah, we got the support of the companies, but at the same time, look what just happened with the prior Game Award shows. It didn't work. And if this flops year one, that's it. He's out of that money and might not come back. It didn't flop. Wasn't perfect, but none of the shows are perfect. It gets better, I think, every year, though. And one thing that's really interesting, too, that I know you can know Jeff Keighley cares about this show and cares about everything, is he also stated publicly, God, this was like 4 weeks ago or something. He said, yeah, we know that people, don't care about the music performances, don't care about that. That's why 50% reveals and trailers and stuff like that, 50% awards, that's what we're focusing on. And then it did feel kind of weird when he said that, then announced, 2 musical performances, which is fine. I think the music's fine. There's no problem with music to me.
No, the music's amazing.
Yeah, the music's amazing.
I stand by the music is freaking awesome, and that people are always going to complain because they just want to get the one thing that they want. They think the whole world's about them.
Game Awards sucks because I didn't see the one game I wanted to see. It's like
whatever it is, and it's like, no, this is a show. This is an entertaining show with a live audience that is there. You want to keep the energy up, and music performances do that. There have been many years. There's been kind of weird choices when it comes to music performance and stuff.
I think
those days are in the past, man. Yeah. Like, it's been so many years, and the thing is, every time there's been a musical performer in the last 5 years, and you're like, what the hell is this? There's someone marking out, losing their minds, like, this is hype as shit. I love this song in Grand Theft Auto. I love this, whatever the hell it was. But I will say that the last 2-3 years has been incredible. What the Game Awards Orchestra does with the Game of the Year medley is like,
that Game of the Year medley is, I mean, it literally, it's one of the, I think one of the best musical releases of the year every year. It is.
It's amazing.
Wow.
And they had the Doom people perform their music. Like, again, Jeff cares. They're doing dope stuff, and it might not always speak to you, but it's really damn cool what they do.
Yep. So, real quick, we had this little conversation when you were gone, because this is kind of the ending of the Game Awards talk. Was obviously the one award that a lot of people do pay attention to is Game of the Year, because that's the coup de grace. That's the big boy. That's the one that everyone can seem to pick out. Game of the Year is like, hey, Nintendo fans, you might want to shit on the Game Awards all you want, but you remember Breath of the Wild won Game of the Year in 2017. You know it. You remember that. It's in your mind. It's a proud moment for Nintendo fans, right? We won a Game of the Year at the Game of the Year Awards. Our Zelda game that sold 20+ million, it did it. And now look, we have a chance maybe with Metroid Prime. We'll see. Don't know that that's the game that should win.
No chance.
It is up there. It is up there.
No, there's no chance it wins. It is up there, and it's nominated, and that matters. Again, it matters.
Like, the fact that it was okay, guys, think about this. A side-scrolling Metroid game is up for Game of the Year.
Right.
Just let that
in 2021.
Sink in. What?
In 2021.
In 2021.
Yeah, right.
Like, we're not talking back in the 80s and 90s. We're talking today.
Yes.
Going up against the likes of Deathloop and Resident Evil. It's there.
Metroid Dread, a game that we never thought we'd actually even play, and then we played it 20 years later, and it's amazing. Wow.
Yeah. It ended up being one of the best review games of the year. We'll see. I don't think it has any shot, but the fact that it's there, you know what? I always say, if it's there, there's a prayer. So we'll see what happens with that. But, I mean, even just looking at, if you look at it, there's such a diverse group of games this year.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't get the chance to play Deathloop, but I've heard a lot of really good things about that game. Resident Evil Village was, in my opinion, one of the better Resident Evils that
I
have come
agree.
out probably like the last 4 or 5 releases. Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart was just that was fantastic. It Takes Two. I mean, I don't know what it is about Joseph Farah, but he knows how to co-op.
hmm
And not just co-op, tell a story.
Mhm.
And this time around, It Takes Two. It's an emotional ride. It's a roller coaster. It's a relationship. It's trying to go through the real troubles that happen in actual people's relationships and explore that in a deeper way through a video game.
hmm
Like that's wow. And then Psychonauts. Who would ever let a Psychonauts
Yeah, right.
game would ever be up for game of the year? Like that to me is just like another Metroid. It's like, really, Psychonauts 2? I mean, I was impressed at it at E3. I saw the private showing of it. It was awesome, but it's like that game's up for game of the hell yeah.
Deservingly. So
Hell, deservedly. It's amazing.
yeah.
So I don't know what's gonna win. You know,
Oh, it's gonna be Deathloop. I mean,
You think it's gonna be Deathloop?
I am almost certain it's gonna be Deathloop. Like, this has been an amazing year for video games, and I
I'm
think
kind
that
of
it's.
pulling for Ratchet and Clank a little bit on my end. I would love to see that one pull it off.
I love Ratchet and Clank, but I love Rift Apart specifically.
Yeah, Rift
But
Apart, yeah.
in my opinion, the reality is it's not a game of the year contender. It's a very, very good, if not debatably the best Ratchet game. And I love Ratchet games, but it's just a really good Ratchet game. Game of the year, I think, requires something special on top of that. And not normally, when we're lucky, and we've been lucky the last couple of years, we get a Breath of the Wild. We get a God of War. We get this game that we're like, duh.
Yeah, duh.
It's
obvious.
that.
Right. It's obvious.
It's that, you know?
Yeah. You can
But
almost predict the winner every year.
but then there's years like 2019, right? Where it's like, I mean, was it 2019? I think it was, with Sekiro won.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, that was such an amazing year because you look at it and there was no obvious answer. And then it ended up being one where you're like, yo, they all split the vote so many ways that Sekiro is getting some love. Game of the year. Same award that only, 10 games ever have won from Game Awards. And you're up there, Sekiro's up there with Breath of the Wild and God of War. Like, that is incredible, you know? I think Deathloop this year is the closest to that level of thing. It got a 10 from GameSpot and IGN. That's nuts, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. That I don't know. I mean, we'll see. Deathloop is definitely beloved out there. It feels weird to me because it's the one I didn't play on this list, and I feel bad about it. So I don't realize how special it is. But we'll see what happens. You know what, folks? If Deathloop wins, that's what I play after Pokemon Brilliant Diamond Shiny Pearl on the stream. We'll get some Deathloop going. Got to give it a try. Because the thing is, I even like games like Deathloop. I don't really know why I just skipped it. You know, I'm really busy, guys. I got limited time. I gotta pick and choose where I get my long play games in. Right now, Halo is sort of right there because I'm saving Pokemon for streams only because I'm just not really enjoying it that much, guys. Sorry to all you Pokemon fans. Just
Right.
not really enjoying it that much. Let's quickly just get into something. We're not gonna do a big debate on this. But I am curious what our top 5 games of all time are at this exact moment, because what made me think of this is I had some kind of funny videos just kind of looping in the background while I was doing homework last week, and then one of the old episodes came up with Tim's top 5,
Oh.
and I was just
Don't tell me what it was.
What your top 5 was?
Don't tell me. Don't tell me.
Don't tell him.
Don't tell him. Oh, don't tell you.
Do you know what it is? Because
Yes.
I don't know what I said there.
Yes, I do know. It's gonna be very interesting to see what you say now.
Oh, I love that. Okay, great.
I do know. Yep. I have it jotted down.
I'm pretty excited about this. But sorry, continue talking.
So I was like, okay. So that was, and it got me thinking. Like, I don't think about what's my top 5 very often. It's just not something I worry about. I just play games and enjoy them. And there's games I'm nostalgic for, and games that meant a lot to me growing up. And I just kind of leave it at that. But after listening to it, I'm like, you know what? That's a good conversation, Mike. Because I bet you even Tim's top 5 has massively changed since back then, or if not massively, partially changed in some way. Because I feel like there is a wave of games that have just happened in the last 6 years. It's impossible to ignore. And I always wonder, how do we balance recency bias, with our love of nostalgia, and like I know for sure one of Eric's games is probably going to be Mario 64. It's like
Surprisingly, no.
it's not. That's one of your
Fantastic
top 5 games
choice.
of all
Oh
time.
wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
All he's done is praise Mario 64,
love
guys,
Mario
for like
64.
4 years on this
I
channel.
love Mario 64.
He's been praising it for like my entire I've known this guy for like 30 years. I don't know how that's not on his list. That's literally the one game but all right. My mind is blown.
Yeah.
I have no idea what's about to happen. So let's just Eric, let's just start with your list quick. What do you got for your top 5? Now I'm flabbergasted.
For me,
Like I know Yoshi, Yoshi's Island's coming up for sure for you. You were just talking about it earlier, Tim, but
I mean, for me, it's kind of more of what did I play a lot, because I don't game a whole lot now. It's kind of more for me, what did I play a lot with friends back in the day? What did I enjoy a lot? So a lot of mine are a lot of older games, a lot of things like that. So
not that first one.
Not that first
I see
one.
the list now.
Yes. I do have Halo, the original. I played
Halo Combat Evolved. Nice.
The original. Yep.
Yeah.
So played a lot of that with my friends. A lot of late nights, a lot of everything like that. Left 4 Dead 2. Those are kind of a tie in there. Again, played a lot of those with a lot of my friends, things like that. Snowboard Kids. I miss that game.
Yes.
I miss that game. Yeah, I miss that
I'm
game.
so excited you brought up Snowboard Kids.
Might be one of the wildest top 5 games of all time I have ever heard.
Yeah.
Shout out to you. That is
Welcome
dope.
to me.
No.
My brain goes every which way. So, and then the top 2, Conker's Bad Fur Day and Breath of the
Nice.
Wild.
Okay.
I mean, those games obviously speak for themselves.
What a
So-
list. Okay. Yeah. Good for
Yeah,
you.
I mean that's a list. I mean,
Mario 64,
I'm surprised
it's
that
one of those
Conker's
things-
on there over Mario
It's-
64. That's surprising. Well, I mean, to be fair, Snowboard Kids really surprised me. That's over Mario 64. For you,
here's
but
the
hey,
thing. To me, also, Mario 64 was one of those that, for me, it's kind of obvious. So I love.
So you eliminated your obvious.
I do love Mario 64.
So is that how
Don't get me
Snowboard Kids
wrong.
got on?
Don't get me wrong. No,
I know
truly,
you. I know
truly
you
love
truly
Snowboard
love
Kids.
Yeah.
so
Okay. Wow. Damn. All right, Tim. I'm very curious for you because it's so fresh in my mind what your list was. So let's go. What do you got?
So I'm actually really excited we're doing this because I don't know what I said 6 years ago when I made that list on the Kind of Funny Games cast. But the topic that we're talking about here is what are our top 5 games of all time? And when you first DM'd me and you were like, hey, here's what we're talking about on the show, you're like, the reason we're doing this is to see like how much your list has changed over the years and like recency bias and all that stuff and what has happened. And I think, without remembering exactly what I said before, I'm pretty sure my list is going to be so indicative of exactly what you're saying in one of the funniest ways ever. And here's why. In no order, because I can't possibly rank these.
Yeah,
And to me,
it's hard to
top
order.
5, we're talking favorite. We're not talking best. We're talking just favorite.
Yep.
And it's hard for me because I have 7 that I'm bouncing between, right? But I'm to try to stick to the 5. I will say, you know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna give 2 honorable mentions before I get to
honorable
the 5.
mention. Here we go. Just
Honorable
outside,
mentions.
on the cusp.
I got to put Mario 64. I just absolutely have to. That is a game that any
Game-changing
opportunity
game. Industry.
I get, I'm going to get 120 stars. I'm going to replay that motherfucker and I'm going to do it all. But the reason it doesn't necessarily make my top 5 favorite games of all time is I think that the first half of that game, the last bit of the game, heavily outweigh the like 2/3 section of the game. Like there's some levels that just aren't that great. There's a lot of stars that aren't that fun to get, and it gets kind of bogged down in the centerpiece of the game compared to the brilliance that is the beginning and end. So there's that. Then I will also say my other honorable mention is Star Fox 64. I love that game. I love the replayability of it. I think it is so ambitious in terms of VO banter and dialogue and character for something that is literally just hey, let's make a fun Star Wars ripoff, but Nintendoize it. They nailed what they were going for. And that game blew my mind going through the different difficulty paths, trying to figure out the tricks to get on the different paths, the reveals towards the end of the game that honestly, I'm not even going to spoil, even though it's been 30 plus years, because the game's now out on Nintendo Switch Online.
Yep.
A lot of people out there have never played. I could not recommend playing through Star Fox 64 at least 3 times to do all of the paths and beating it on hard, because oh my god, the end of that game on the final alternate thing is hype as hell. So there's that. But my top 5, the one that I'm on the cusp of, that one of that Mario 64 or Star Fox 64 could at any moment kind of replace, is Amplitude on the PlayStation 2. Okay. It's a rhythm game. It is so fantastic. It is from the makers, it's Harmonix. So before they made Guitar Hero and Rock Band, they made a game called Frequency on the PS2. The sequel is Amplitude. You're kind of just going from track to track to track of a song. Each track's a different instrument, and you're playing along to the rhythm of the song. And I love it. The PS2 game had so many licensed tracks, as well as like a lot of deep cut genres all over the place. Whether it was Blink 182, going into some deep hardcore electronica stuff. Such a fun game. I happen to be really good at it, and I love it. There's something about it that just speaks to me. Next up, I'm going to say this one's an interesting one for me that I don't know if I mentioned before on my list, so I'm excited to hear. But I'm going to go with Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 Remake. I love Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. Definitely, that franchise is so near and dear to my heart for so many reasons, both being an amazingly fun game, but also the soundtrack being so formative to my musical tastes. But also, again, I'm pretty good at it, and I'm not good at video games. So Amplitude and Tony Hawk are my 2 kind of like claims to fame that I'm like, I'm competitive at the very least. But the remake that came out last year is simply incredible. It is everything I could have asked for from a remake of a video game, and they nailed everything that mattered. And that means so much to me because I've been a Tony Hawk fan since day one. And it's been hard to be a Tony Hawk fan in the last decade because Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5 was one of the worst video games I've ever played. It was a fucking insult. And the remake that they did of the original Tony Hawk 1 and 2 remake they did on the 360 PS3 era was trash. Fun because I wanted it to be, but it wasn't that damn good. What we got last year from Vicarious Visions was people that really cared, really gave a shit at what made Tony Hawk special. And I love that game. I put 100+ hours into it, and I'm going to continue to do that for the rest of my life.
It's so nice when a remake's actually done right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It feels like it doesn't quite happen enough. Like it. Oh.
Yeah.
That was such a nostalgia blast when I played it. Wow. All right.
Yep.
And you're really good at it. So that's always.
Yeah. Next up. Oh, wait. Oh, I totally did my math wrong. I have 3 more to give. Is that right?
Yes.
Oh, then I'm good. Then I'm fine.
You're good. Yep, you're good.
Yoshi's Island. I already talked about it. Yep. First game I ever beat. I really love it. I think it has some.
Probably still be there.
What's that? Say it again.
I knew that one was still going to be there. Based on you just had to bring it up at the beginning of the show. It's yep. Okay, that's still there. Confident.
No, that's still there. The level design, I think, is unmatched. It is such an incredible game. It blends just platforming obstacles with kind of more of a offense-based gameplay where you're actually attacking with the eggs and all that stuff. But it adds a level of like collectathon and exploration and adventure that we never got in a Mario game. Mario games, traditionally, Mario World's an exception to this, but Mario, the first couple, it's like you're going left to right. There's some verticality to it. And for the most part, with the rare exception of a couple like castle levels or ghost houses, you're just kind of going through, jumping and getting through stuff. Yoshi's Island was trying to get you to explore things, find a key to open a door. It almost added like Zelda elements, but in a 2D platformer style. And I really think they nailed it. On top of that, having a fantastic soundtrack and a fantastic art style. And it is, in my opinion, the last unique Mario art style we've seen. We hit Mario 64 and it's looked like that ever since. Whether it's New Super Mario Brothers or any sequel, Mario now has a defined look that's clean and dialed in, and we know what the Mario movie next year is going to look like because we know what Mario looks like. Yep. Compare that to back in the day when Mario 1, Mario 2, Doki Doki Panic, whatever, Mario 3, Mario World 2, every single one, unique art style from the ground up that gave you something special. I missed that, and I think Yoshi's Island did it extremely well. And also, most epic final boss of
Oh.
all.
I was like, is he gonna get through this without mentioning that boss? Oh man.
Oh,
It
God.
is maybe one of the greatest boss fights of all time. Wow.
Yeah. It is incredible. And I know I'm going long on this, but I'm sorry,
Look,
guys.
no,
If I'm
you're
talking about
fine.
Yoshi's
You're
Island,
fine.
I gotta do it. It's not just the final boss, which if you guys haven't experienced this, first off, play it on Switch Online. You can. If you're not going to do that, please do me a favor and go on YouTube and look up the Super Mario World 2 final boss, because how they do it with the music rising is so epic for a 2D platformer. It makes no damn sense. But even halfway through that game, the fight with the Piranha Plant boss, they changed the boss theme out of nowhere, and it is so excellent. It is so hype, and I love that they do it, and it gives me chills every time. Number two, or not number two, but my final two, I'm going to go with Super Smash Brothers Ultimate. It's an easy answer for anybody that knows me. Smash Brothers is my favorite video game franchise, period. And of course, I love Melee. Of course, I have fond memories of Brawl, even though it's not the best. But Ultimate's Ultimate. It literally has every character. Everyone is here. There's so much love and care put into this game. The roster is insane. I can play as Cloud. I can play as Sephiroth. I can play as Pac-Man. I can play as Sonic and Mega Man and Mario and Zero Suit Samus, and the list goes on and on and on and on and on.
Greatest gaming
including
crossover.
Sora. I can't believe it, man. It is so fucking special.
Great.
I've been playing Smash Brothers since the day it came out on the N64, and I'm going to be playing Smash Brothers Ultimate till the day I die. Me and my friend group are in love with it, and I love that so much has changed in our lives. My best friend is having a baby next week. I can't believe it. But one thing that'll never change is that we're going to hang out. It might not be as frequent as it used to be, but when we do, we're going to play Smash Brothers, and it's probably going to be Ultimate. So there we go. And now here's the big one for me that I'm interested to hear what I said a couple years ago. My last one I'm going to put on the list. Super Mario Brothers 3. And this is crazy because my entire life I was convinced that World is the better game. And the reason I say that is, and to this day I stand by, the physics of World, the way that that Mario handles is easily the best. I love the way Mario World plays better than anything else. But in recent years, having replayed them multiple times each, 100%ing each for the upteenth time, there's a creativity that 3 has that World just simply doesn't have. World has a lot of secret exits and has way more creative things in that regard. But in terms of the varied locales and what you're getting into, there's a Nintendo magic that Mario 3 has that I always never wanted to give it credit, because the Super Nintendo is my console. You know, like it was the first one. It's the first one I owned, and my friends had an NES, or like my cousins or whatever. And I played a lot of those games later. But like I always felt this weird defensiveness over the SNES. I'm like, it is the fucking best, because in a lot of ways it is the fucking best. But
oh my god, it's amazing. It really is.
Mario 3, man, it's the one.
It's the one. It's the one. So do you want me to tell you your former top 5?
Yes, please.
Because only one is still there. He's got such a shocked look. Well, yeah. So this is a half-hour clip you guys had on your channel back on June 23rd, 2015.
Wow.
So I wanted the exact date noted because it's been a little over 6 years. So Yoshi's Island, that's the Universal. That one stayed. That was very obvious when you talked about it at the beginning. That one's still there. That one's probably forever in your top 5. It's a masterclass. Nothing's really been able to knock it out at this point. Maybe it will. Maybe you never know. Maybe 6 years from now, something else knocks it off. We'll see. But it did survive, and it's probably been surviving most of your life in that top 5. So it's going to be that sounds like the one that's just really hard to knock out of there. Here was your top 5 back then. So it was Yoshi's Island, and you did the no particular order back then too. You had Super Smash Bros. Brawl on that list.
So that's what I was saying is interesting, is that I think there's going to be some like updates. So Ultimate's the update.
Yeah, and that's just it. Like the Brawl one, I'm like, okay, you updated to Ultimate. Now at the time that you said that, obviously we also had the Wii U 3DS one out as well. You liked Brawl better? Okay, cool. You went into some reasoning on it at the time, but it's cut and dry. Smash Ultimate, I think, is clearly the best Smash game that's ever existed, and might be the best one that ever existed in the future. Because I don't know if we'll ever get a game this crazy again with this many characters and this many franchises. done this well. We don't even know how long Sakurai is even going to continue to even do Smash. So we'll see. He did note he doesn't think Smash can be done without him. So he's open to it. We'll see what happens. But he does. There was one thing he said in that Famitsu column that he was like, yeah, the thing is, when I talk to Nintendo or when they come and talk to me again about making another one, a big debate's going to be, do we make another one when it's going to be disappointing in comparison to what we just did?
I mean, as of today, he even said, like, hey, don't expect another one.
Yeah. It's like he just doesn't know how you can follow this up because there's never going to be this big of a roster again,
Right.
at least anytime soon. And the next one's going to be much smaller in scope. And can you really do that after Ultimate? It feels like a game you can't follow up. So we'll see. We'll see. I think they should just carry forward for at least a whole nother generation and just do another Fighter Pass DLC and just add 10 more characters or something for the next gen. But we'll see what happens. There's definitely going to be obviously another $60 edition that has all the DLC together on the next platform. That's going to be a thing. Okay, so that's in there. It was an updated game. Not really surprised there that one got knocked off by Ultimate. You had Pokemon Gold and Silver on the list.
Oh, so this is where I messed up my count. Yeah. Heart Gold, Soul Silver deserves a spot on that list.
Yeah. Because you mentioned shout out to the original, but the Heart Gold, Soul Silver one, that's just the superior version. But yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Then, okay, I misspoke. That definitely, I'll bump Amplitude down.
Amplitude down.
Heart Gold, Soul Silver, 100%.
Yeah, I kind of figured. I was wondering about that Heart Gold because you were so passionate about it, and we were passionate talking about Pokemon earlier. I sat there and I wonder if he's having a smidge of recency bias with that Amplitude over that. But again, it's personal preference, and you're really good at Amplitude. And Amplitude, it's a really good game.
2001. Yeah. 2001. There's no recency bias there. But no, dude.
Play it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, I play it all the time. All these games I play all the time.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I just had to double check.
Yeah.
All right. Then you had Metal Gear Solid 4.
Yeah, I love that game so much.
Yeah. That's probably almost pinnacle Metal Gear. It's
I mean, it's the culmination. Is it the best Metal Gear? No. Is it my favorite? Absolutely, because it delivered. It did all the things I needed it to. I do think that being a little more objective nowadays, I'd bump that down a little bit, but it's still probably top 10 for me.
Oh, yeah. I figured if we did top 10, all these games would probably still be there anyway. So that's not as fun then. Yeah. It's like, hey, I really want to know how much it's changed, how much because I think in various points of our lives, you think, well, geez, 6 years ago, what would you have been, 26 or something like that? I mean, I would have been, what is 6 years ago? I would have been like 28, 29. So it's like, yeah, how have I matured in my thought process doing this thing now for a lot longer and realizing that maybe there's a lot of bias we throw in with things that maybe aren't fair to others. Like my original top 5 10 years ago was all Zelda games. Like that just makes no logical sense to anybody but my crazy brain at the time just being biased for Zelda. Now there's only one Zelda game in my top 5. So we'll see what happens there. Your last one, and this was interesting when you mentioned Mario Bros. 3, because you had a Mario game in your top 5, but it was Super Mario Galaxy 2.
Ooh.
And
sounds like me.
That's a really, it's a really good game. I can't blame you. I think it's the superior of the Galaxy games.
It is.
I mean, still to this day, maybe the best, 3D Mario game ever made. It's amazing. But yet Mario 64 got the shout out, and then 3 made the top 5. So, and that's fundamentally, and that's like the mental gymnastics that happens over the years as you replay games and you go back through things and things just change. You start to realize maybe I enjoy games in a different way. Then it doesn't mean that you dislike these games. You clearly still love them, but things change. We get older. We maybe enjoy different aspects a little bit differently. So it's interesting. Just like with me when it used to be all Zelda and I just didn't care. But anyway, that's not true. I played so many games, but I was so biased. I was so biased 10 years ago.
It is funny though that when I look at my top games, like I don't even put the number 5, like all the games we just talked about, so many of them are just fantastic remakes or iterations on the older versions, whether it's Heart Gold and Soul Silver, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater remake 1 and 2, even damn, I'm super blanking right now on what I was just talking about, but all of them are like just kind of what's old is new again, Smash Brothers is what I was looking for. Like Ultimate, it is just Smash again,
Yeah. So I'll just quickly go through my top 5. I have a lot of debate about this all the time because I do a lot of live stream stuff, and people always ask, and I usually just ignore the questions because I just frankly don't feel like in the moment trying to narrow everything down. But I was like, you know what? I
Mhm.
know I want to talk about this with Tim. I'm really interested how his list has changed. So that means I gotta buck up. I can't ignore this. If I don't say my top five,
I'm
my
hyped, dude.
channel will
Let's
never let me
go.
live it down. I put Tim on the spot and then Eric on the spot,
Yeah.
and then I don't deliver.
Yeah.
So Breath of the Wild's my obvious one. That's my favorite Zelda game of all time. Zelda's my favorite franchise of all time. It's going to be on the list. It is what it is. I think it's a masterclass in almost every single way. I have my criticisms. I don't think any game's actually perfect. But for me, it's hard for me to imagine any other Zelda game I enjoy more. I've replayed ones since Breath of the Wild came out, and it's just nothing tops it. I mean, Wind Waker and all these other ones come close, but it just doesn't matter. That's at the top for me. Top Zelda game, only Zelda game that makes my top 5. Got to throw it in there. So I'm gonna throw a couple curveballs in here that I don't know. One game he might see coming, but I don't know if anybody else does. And Eric, I'm gonna go let my dog out.
Yeah.
He's over there whining. I'm pretty sure that he needs to go take a little tinkle. Don't worry, Link. That's right. That's how much I love Zelda. My dog's named after.
Love it.
All right. So my top 5, we got obviously Breath of the Wild's in there. Again, no particular order, although I would probably say my bias still puts Zelda at the top. But when I was thinking about this earlier today, I realized I'm not so sure that it is, but it is in there. Next up, Age of Empires 2.
Whoa. Okay. Cool.
Like my growing up, my first game I ever played was Mike Tyson's Punch Out on the NES. I screwed my dad over. He was at Mike Tyson, went to the bathroom. I had no idea what I was doing. Got him rocked.
No.
At the time, you couldn't just jump back to Mike Tyson. You had to start all over again. He was not very happy with me. Might have been sent to my room for the rest of the day for that one.
Ugh.
But that was my first experience with video games, so that got me into Nintendo. But shortly after that, I was actually one of the early. I actually had dial-up internet. We had a PC in the house, and that's when I discovered like Wolfenstein and Doom and Duke Nukem and all that stuff. And a game I discovered really early on was Age of Empires. Playing that online, the original on MSN Gaming Zone back in the day. Oh my gosh, I feel old just even mentioning that MSN Gaming Zone. See, like if you mention like AOL Instant Messenger, people be like, "Oh yeah, okay."
Yeah.
MSN Gaming Zone, like early days of online gaming, was very strange, even on PC. It was
Mhm.
very strange. So anyways, I played a lot of that, but then when Age of Empires 2 came out, I really liked the medieval times. I've always liked that time period, even in history class, let alone, in gaming. That's why I probably still to this day, like, why do I enjoy Zelda so much? Well, part of it is it's kind of in that time period, even though it's a fantasy setting. It's the same reason I enjoy Tolkien and, Lord of the Rings stuff. And all this stuff, it just fits in that time period. So that's up there. Probably also why I really like the Witcher series a lot. Like, I love the series. The series is amazing. But so that's in my top 5. This is the one that's really weird, and this is where people are probably going to say I'm just saying this to be controversial because I'm not exactly sure which version it was. I just know that I have spent, probably over $4,000 in my lifetime playing this game because I only played it at arcades. It was some version of Dance Dance Revolution, and I tried
love
looking it up
you.
today.
Oh, what a
I tried
fantastic!
looking it up today to figure out which one it was, looking up the different cabinets and the different. I couldn't figure out which one exactly it was that was at my local arcade. But I literally all summer long, every other day. Oh, you need to go work out. I was in 4 sports, and I'm like, oh, it's summertime. I'm playing baseball. Baseball practices have like 0 working out at all. You just stand around most of the time where you swing a bat. It's not really that much of a workout. So what did I do? I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go play some DDR. So I'm still like, I gotta find an arcade that has a bunch of them set up so I can go on it and see the song selection list and see which ones are starting to click with me, and I start remembering all the steps and stuff. But my gosh, Dance Dance Revolution, whichever version it was I was playing at arcades, my lord. And the thing is, I got like they had that Mario Weird Edition one at one point that you could play at home. I played that
GameCube,
one too. But it was specifically one of the arcade ones that I can't get enough. Even to this day, if there's one in the other room in my kids' playroom, I'm playing it right after this podcast. It's happening.
Yeah. No,
down.
dude, I'm so happy you bring this up. I love DDR, and I always have. And I'm just like you. Back in the day, I was at arcades all day, every day, just playing through these things. I had every home iteration they possibly could release on every single console. I remember on PS2 they would essentially annualize them, and they were coming out. And then there was an exclusive one, Ultra Mix, on Xbox. I'm like, I gotta get that. And then eventually Mario Mix on GameCube. I expect and I imagine that the one you're talking about is probably DDR Extreme. In arcades, that is the ultimate arcade machine as far as I'm concerned when it comes to DDR. What an amazing collection of songs. But hell yeah, good for you.
Yeah. I don't know what it's just still there, and I know if I ever see one in person, it's kind of like when, even though there's been a billion versions that you can play at home, it's kind of like whenever you see Guitar Hero sitting at an arcade, you're probably gonna put a buck in and go play, because why not? You're kicking that nostalgia back.
Muscle memory, yeah.
It's a memory. But DDR specifically, if it's at the arcade, I'm probably not getting off it the entire time I'm there. Sorry to everyone else that sees it and thinks it's cool. It ain't happening. My machine. No, if it's the 2-player one, sure, then yeah, you can play against me. I'm cool with that. I'll dance you right off of there.
I can't anymore. Like you say, oh, you're gonna be there all day. It's like
there's a bit
give
more
me
weight
3 songs on heavy and I'm done.
My body creaks a lot more. I feel like I might make it through a song, but I don't know if I could make it through the marathon anymore.
No, you can't. You can't. I'm telling you right now, man. It's sad what happened to our bodies.
Let me just say, I mean, it was a lot easier when I was like a 4-sport athlete and in shape all the time. Now it's kind of like, yep, haven't had a reason to be in shape in quite some time besides just worrying about your personal health. So
I'm winded from coming downstairs.
Wait, coming down the stairs? Wait, down the stairs. So let me get this right. Gravity's floating you down and you're winded from it.
Yeah, damn straight.
Okay. That's okay. I gotta start going up. I got really tiny steps to the studio, but okay.
Still winded from that, I think. I don't know.
Maybe. Okay, now this is one that used to be my favorite game of all time. Until Breath of the Wild came out, and I've had everyone tell me like the third one's better and everything. I really don't care. I finally got a chance to sit down and play the third one because it didn't release originally in the United States, but then now it's come out. And I'm talking, of course, going back to the SNES days. Again, my favorite console of all time is probably going to forever be Super Nintendo. That was my jam. I don't know if it, I've talked in the past, like Switch is kind of creeping up as that library's growing, but it doesn't have everything like SNES did back in the day. It just had everything that wasn't Sega exclusive. It had everything. That's the only caveat with Switch. It doesn't have everything. But Secret of Mana.
Oh, okay.
I played a lot of RPGs growing up. It was just my jam. JRPGs were just a big thing. And that what was really cool about that one is it wasn't your traditional, like it was sort of turn-based, but it wasn't. It was action-oriented. It was live, but you could pause it and choose and tell you guys to do different things and stuff like that. So you could kind of make it feel turn-based, but it's not turn-based at all. It's live action. And it was my favorite game of all time. And Trials of Mana and everything everyone tells me is better. I don't really care. You guys can think it's a better game. I finally beat it. It's just not. And maybe that's a nostalgia factor. Maybe it's because I was a kid and just literally every time I see that game, I just instantly have to replay it. It was on the SNES Classic. The box back there. Like every time my kids pop on the SNES Classic, when they're done playing, I said, "Hold on, I gotta play those Secret Mana." It's just we're not turning this thing off until I get like a good hour in this game. So like it used to be my favorite game of all time. So it's still up there. I love that game. Oh, I love that game.
Hell yeah.
I'm like right now. I'm like, okay, guys, do we just stop Brilliant Diamond and just start again? Like I'd so much rather be playing that game and telling you guys about why every moment in this game is amazing, even from a storytelling perspective. I mean, we're talking SNES with multiplayer in an RPG. What? 3 different characters. 2 of them, by the way, are female. Like this is yes. Anyways. Sorry, I'm getting to stop thinking of the mushroom part of the game.
Yeah.
I love that game. The funny thing about that game, I never beat the final boss in that game until 3 years ago.
Whoa, it was your favorite game of all time.
Final
That's kind of
dungeon,
fun.
I could never get through that final dungeon. And because the thing is, there's plenty of games. You know what? If I'm stuck for so long, especially years and years, I'll eventually just walk through or watch a video and just try to figure out how to get past the one part, right? But I told myself, no, I love this game so much. I'm not getting help. I'm not asking anyone. I'm not looking it up. I'm not watching the end of the game. So I never even knew how this game ended for 20 plus years of my life. I had no idea how this game ended. Finally got to it. It lived up to all my expectations. I'm super thrilled with how that game ended.
That's my Captain Skyhawk.
Oh,
I could never beat it.
Oh my
And
God,
then-
Captain Skyhawk, bro.
And then came back. It was so funny. My cousin and I played that all our growing up, and we could never beat it. Never beat it. Never beat it. 10, 15 years down the road, came back, and all of a sudden, just like first try, right through it. And like, what?
No way.
Yeah.
Dude. Oh my God. I need to go back and try. I hope they put that on Switch Online one day, because like I have never beat it, and I would love to beat that game. Like it is the docking parts were so hard.
Yeah.
So this last one, I had a little debate with this one because there's a lot of games. Like I haven't mentioned much from like PlayStation or Microsoft, and I got so many that are right on that cusp of getting up in there. But then there's 2 games from Square Enix that just sit there, and I'm not sure which order I put them in. And one of them is I think I'm gonna make this my honorable mention is the U.S. version of Final Fantasy II. I'm not even sure if that is the original Final Fantasy II, because there was all these number issues back then. But it had the airships, it was awesome. Had Cecil, it was an amazing experience. Not the Mystic Quest, guys. That's a totally different one. That one was fun too. But the Final Fantasy II one with the airship, that one was really great.
That was 4, right?
Yeah, I think that was actually 4. I don't know.
Yeah.
The numbers
Japan
back then.
2 was America 2 was Japan 4, and America 3 was Japan
Yeah,
6.
it had the red cover on it on the SNES cartridge. I don't know. It was so I was confused back then. I'm still confused today. So Final Fantasy early days are just so confusing until you get to like 6, and then it finally kind of standardized from that point.
Yeah. Well, kinda.
So,
Until you got to 10-2 and 13-2 and
yeah. Okay. I mean, X. Yeah, just not even. Then you got Final Fantasy 15 online, but then like what the hell? I don't know. That's just Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles original release.
Yes.
That's my multiplayer game that makes this list.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now you can play it solo. You can beat the whole game solo. Not a big deal. Kind of like Triforce Heroes and all these other. You can beat it solo, but it's best experience with friends.
Mhm.
And the most amount of time I have ever played with your friend Chris on any game was Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles.
Oh, yeah.
We hundreds
three
and
of us.
hundreds and hundreds of hours playing that game, and everything about it, just when you're playing with friends anyway, felt perfect. Yeah, someone's the pot bitch and everything, and but that just kind of added to the charm. Like, all right, yeah, I'm gonna be the pot. Oh, we ain't moving on till you go pick up that fucking pot. No,
Yeah,
you
right.
pick up the pot. No. I'm trying to level up. I'm trying to get this. I want to get this out. I know what's up here. I know what's like.
Yeah, right.
So like it was
Right.
just that fun thing. Like I'm really surprised I didn't put Mario Kart up there, because I have a lot of affinity for Mario Kart 8, and then obviously lots of nostalgia over Mario 64. Like Mario Kart 64, it's just my God. I mean that was at my birthday parties. I mean, even track and field.
I mean, my whole
didn't
list
get
could have
back
been
to my
just
birthday
64 games. I
Yeah,
mean,
it
that's
could've
me.
Could have been.
Huh.
But yeah, Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles. And the thing is, I was being unfair to this game for a while, because they did a remake, a remastering, and it sucks.
It does suck.
It literally destroyed it. I couldn't get more than like 2 hours in, and we just said nope.
Yeah.
Nope. And I thought maybe, just maybe, I just don't like this game as much as I used to. So then I went back and played the original GameCube version. No, they just screwed it up. They screwed it up bad. It just shouldn't exist. They should never be. They should just bring it to like a virtual console, which again we don't have. So, and just bring the game, bring the original game, re-release it on the eShop for like $15 and call it a day. It's so good, and I bring it to all platforms. I'm all about let everyone play every game that's out there. I'm all cool with that. So, oh man. That yeah. So I guess that's my top 5. No particular order, besides I still have that Zelda bias that kind of sort of keeps it up there, but I think it's just a bias that just keeps it in the top 5. Probably, and we'll see. Maybe will Breath of the Wild 2 be like the Odyssey 2 that knocks it down? Like Odyssey was up there too, and then I'm sorry, Galaxy was up there, and then Galaxy 2 came, and I like Galaxy 2 more. So Breath of the Wild 2 might knock Breath of the Wild out there. We'll see. Promise. There's a lot of promise. We'll see. I'm also trying to, again, hype responsibly, which is really hard for me to do with Zelda. So we got one last topic to get to quick. And it's an interesting topic because it's kind of ingrained, I think, in everything that we do, especially I feel like in dry spells, but also in lead up to events, which again, big event tomorrow night. Is this the gaming rumor and leak culture? And a lot of people kind of pair them together, and I think there is a fundamental difference between rumors and leaks, despite how some YouTubers and other people might treat them as the same thing. Like leaks to me are always something that is semi-verified, as you can kind of look and find this yourself. Like a data mine happens and you find out something. Like the data mine, like just a really simple one. We knew Bluetooth audio was coming to Switch before it got released because data mining happened and leaked out that, hey, they added this option for Bluetooth support, it's just not enabled. Okay, that's there now. Cool. We're probably getting it, and sure enough, it wasn't enabled. But then there's rumors, which are typically really hard to verify. We could talk about people who are reliable with this stuff, like when Jason Schreier puts out stuff, usually pretty reliable, but doesn't always happen. And this is makes people get untrustworthy of various things. And by the way, guys, I know this is just someone who's been covering this industry for so long. It's not always because they were lying to you.
Right.
So many things are changing at all times. Games that were being made get canceled all the time. So I'm very curious, like, where gaming rumor and leak culture belongs versus how it gets treated by everyone. Like, is it like Tim? How do you guys handle this? Like when rumors crop up like this, like how do you handle it at Kind of Funny when you're covering it, or do you not cover it at all?
I mean, it's super complicated because I think that, like, I mean, even what you just said there is so layered of like
Yes.
spoilers versus leaks
Yes,
versus
it's
rumors
so
versus
layered.
made up bullshit. Like,
Yes.
just somebody saying, "Oh, Metroid Prime 5's happening." That's not a rumor. Just because someone repeats what someone said doesn't make it a rumor. It just makes it a thing that someone's repeating that someone said. And I think that a lot of times, especially in the culture we have now of influencers, where headlines and thumbnails get clicks and make money for people, and it's kind of sensationalizes all of this and incentivizes people monetarily to drop things and say things that are titillating, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that
You're
everyone has
rewarded
to keep
for it.
that in. Yeah, totally. So you have to keep that in mind. But I do think you bring up an interesting point about like Jason Schreier, who is undeniably like the most connected games journalist that we've ever had. And when he says something, it's based in truth. He would not make something up. He is not incentivized to make things up. He is incentivized to report his findings. And like you said, sometimes those things end up not ending up being a reality, but there's so many factors that go into that. In my opinion, I am firmly in the stance that as long as you are upfront about how you feel about it and what it is, I think there's fun conversations to be had. Like,
Yes.
I love talking about this type of stuff, but you need to say, hey, this is a rumor, this might not happen, but like, let's talk about it. Do we want it to happen? Is it cool? Is there something better that we'd want instead? Like all that. And I know that that's complex conversation to have because everyone reacts differently to things, and that will cause people to get overhyped about stuff and then be upset and be very vitriolic in their responses when it does or doesn't happen the way they expected it to.
Yeah.
We see this a lot even in movies and TV. Like look at WandaVision, which was like such an amazing show, but when it didn't deliver the big crazy twists and cameos and stuff that some people hyped themselves into believing, they were upset or like, I fucking hate this. I can't believe they fucked this all up.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, the reality is, in my opinion, there's a fun in the theorizing. And while it is disappointing that things may or may not have happened, video games are entertainment. So as long as you're being entertained by consuming and discussing these things, that is the goal. I love talking about and theorizing what might be at the Game Awards.
Sure.
I might be disappointed if things aren't there, but it all comes back from a place of me just wanting that thing there because I want that thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the people that look at E3 and Game Awards and games marketing and are just like, oh, you all are just buying into commercials. Like, why are all these people just like so excited about commercials? Because commercials for things we love that are new announcements are exciting and bring me joy and entertainment in themselves. That's why.
Yeah. I mean, I say this, like, one thing I've discovered in especially once I got into the YouTube game, because I used to just be an editor in chief and writing articles and stuff. But once I got in front of a camera and started having a more, I almost, I guess, a more personal relationship with an audience, one thing I realized is I really enjoy the conversations around gaming. Like, there's just something inherently enjoyable about talking about games. It's like I'm, every week on this podcast with guests, Eric, whatever.
Mhm.
It's like I'm talking with a bunch of friends. Like Tim, I've never met you before till today, and you know what? It feels like I'm just talking to a friend, shooting the shit
Right.
about video games, and
Yep.
this I love this. And a
Hmm.
lot of times that's kind of what, like, even when if I cover a rumor or a leak or whatever, like my audience knows I don't sit there and pretend this crap is real. I have no idea. I literally will put
Yeah.
a tinfoil hat on my head to kick
Yeah.
off the video
Yeah.
to let you know this might be some crackpot crazy stuff. I'm not
The
sitting here
Grinch
telling
theory.
you this is happening,
Yeah.
but I'm talking about it because I want it to happen. This is interesting. I
Right.
want to talk about this. Um,
Yeah.
and I think that people need to understand, in some ways, because again, because I talk about this stuff, I obviously will get backlash for it.
Mhm. And don't shoot the messenger.
Yeah, don't shoot the messenger or whatever you want to say,
I mean,
and the hype responsibly stuff.
yeah.
It's a lot of understand that. I mean, why do you guys consume my content or versus anybody else's content? Why do you consume anything? Yeah, I presuming you get some sort of value. Maybe it's informational. Informational that has value. Informational stuff has value. Tutorial content has value. But I'm a conversationalist. I'm talking about games. I'm not making the games. I'm not marketing the game. So, I mean, you could argue there's always marketing because you're talking about them, but I'm not paid to do that kind of stuff. I get paid off of your views by me talking about the things I want to talk about.
Mhm.
And I think it gets misconstrued sometimes. Um,
That you're
that I'm entertainment.
starting
I view my channel as I'm like, I don't call it an entertainment channel, but I'm here because I want to talk about games. And I just hope people want to listen. And if you don't want to listen, it's cool. But I try to be very careful about my coverage of this stuff. Like there was one, like 4chan's like almost always off limits. Like never talk about anything on 4chan. Ever talk about anything on 4chan. I think like 3 times in the history of my channel have I ever mentioned anything on 4chan. And all 3 times were because I know this is fake as hell, but man, is this like the coolest idea I have read in a hell of a long time.
Well, it's funny you bring that up because infamously, I mean, 4chan, yeah, 9 out of 10 times is
Yeah.
fake as all hell, and someone just said some shit and it's not real. But there is that 1 out of 10
That
times
one,
where it
yeah.
is 10 out of 10 on the nose, including the Switch's launch lineup. I will never forget a 4chan rumor screenshot that looks like all the rest of them with this crazy list of video games you're looking at, and you're like, Mario Odyssey, okay, interesting. Super Bomberman R,
Yeah, okay.
Super Street Fighter 2 Ultra, like no way. And yeah, then all of a sudden it's like, yep, that's the lineup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. And like people always ask, like, how do you choose what to cover tonight? It's just what I want to talk about. Like if there's a rumor about Breath of the Wild 2, yeah, I'll tell you right now, it's 99% fake. I've been covering Zelda rumors for 20 plus years. Telling you right now, things don't leak from Zelda, like ever. You don't get leaks unless the caveat is there's going to be Zelda at an event like E3 because there's marketing material that gets set up at E3 and that gets leaked out sometimes from people who get access to the show floor. So there's been times we've been able to find out some stuff like the lanyards as an example back at E3 2016. Those were obviously leaked out before people even had public access to those lanyards. So like, yes, that kind of happened. But in general, like if you're in the middle of February and a rumor pops up saying, "Oh yeah, this is the title of Breath of the Wild 2," bullshit. I've been covering Zelda forever. A title has never leaked, and I know that. But if it's a fun title that presents a fun idea, maybe I'll bring it up on something. I want to just talk about it as a neat idea, with the caveat that yeah, this isn't going to be real, guys. I mean, if it is real, cool. But it's not. And like I think I talked about one of the times I talked about 4chan. I think it was just like last week or the week before. I can't even remember what it was for. It was just some neat idea, and I talked about it. And some people got, oh look at this, he's such a 4chan clickbaiter, and I'm like, okay. First off, thank you for giving my channel an opportunity. I'm sorry that the first video you saw was that, but like I started it with a tinfoil hat and telling you this is not right or real, but
Yeah.
or probably not real. So, but I find the whole culture interesting because I feel like there's always that song and dance, and obviously as you mentioned, like there's a reward out there for people to.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm not gonna name names or call anybody out, but there's a number of content creators I know that are just busy every single day making content around fake rumors all the time. Don't even know if they might even be making them up. I have no idea. And they're rewarded for that. And it's really interesting to see that culture in gaming, that kind of underbelly that ends up, I think, creating a lot of overhype for things. And I do believe that that happened in some regards. I think with like the Switch Pro, because that was like a really big thing that
Mhm.
upset a lot of people when OLED was announced. Um, and I think that that's because there was the actual reports, and then people building off rumors off of those reports, that just added all that extra hype to it. And we all of us play a role in it.
Yeah.
Just even bringing it up as a conversation point can excite people. Bringing up the idea that, yeah, you know what, maybe Breath of the Wild 2 might be at the Game Awards. Okay, that's exciting. That's going to make people expect it. But I don't know. Like I don't know what's going to be there, guys. People always, oh Nate, what's gonna? I have no idea. Sonic Frontiers is going to be there. I can tell you
Do
that.
you know that it will be there in the aspect of most anticipated
On most
game?
anticipated game.
That's all we know 100% for sure.
It
that
might
will
get
be there.
mentioned, maybe, depending on how they deal with most anticipated game. They
Right.
might not mention the nominees. If it doesn't win, they only announce the winner. Fine.
Right.
But yeah, so I just find it really interesting, um, because I've for God 20 years or so I've been on kind of this side, the conversation side, talking about the stuff and not being on the consuming side. So it's always
Mhm.
interesting to see. Maybe is it a disconnect? You think, Eric? Like a disconnect between the viewers and the conversation people were like,
Maybe
I
I
don't
don't know.
know.
It's a real complex situation where what's a rumor, what's a leak, what's a this, what's a that.
so many
and-
layers, as Tim mentioned. But
Right,
when I
exactly.
started to like define what it is, and it's like it's tough because there's layers to
And then-
everything.
And then just because you reported on it, all of a sudden some people start to think that it's coming from you, even though you may have
Yeah, everything
most
is
of the time
sourced, and I
is
mentioned where
sourced,
everything
yeah.
comes from.
So, and then they get pissed at you when it doesn't come true, and it
but
but
it happens with
it's-
everyone, man.
Yeah, and that's not just you, but yeah.
Yo, I've been doing this long enough that me and my friends hang out and talk about video games, and I say things I want to see in a game, and then all of a sudden I'm seeing articles written, and I'm like, oh shit, wait, that sounds awesome. And I click on it, and I'm like, wait, they're literally just quoting a dumb thing that I said on a Kind of Funny Games cast. Like,
I wonder if
they're
Jeff Grubb
reporting it
feels
like
that.
news. Oh, dude, I feel so
Oh
bad
my
for Grubb,
God.
man.
Everything
I feel
he
so
says,
bad for him.
He's on the Grub Snacks. He's on the Giant Bomb stuff. He's doing his Nintendo thing. Anything he says, if it's like something exciting, oh yeah, that's happening. It's a rumor. We're reporting on.
Yeah.
It. It's like, dude, did you even hear the context of the conversation? Like,
Grubb's amazing, man.
Yeah, he's awesome. He's a good dude.
He's a good dude.
I
and
literally
he has
just
great
I just
sources.
offended him on Twitter today because him and a bunch of others were being just Twitter bombed by all that Xbox drama, and I was like, dude, no, I got Jeff's back. It's all cool. And then we talked a little bit, and he's like, man, thanks for that. I'm like, yeah, dude. Like, I'm not, dude. I know, like, people on the outside don't know what it's necessarily like being on that side where everything you say becomes a thing.
Mm.
It's
Yeah.
dumb.
And so that is a conversation for a different time. That
Yes.
is such a
Yes,
Oh,
that
for
could
sure,
be
for sure.
that
Whole
could
nother
be a whole
topic.
podcast right
totally,
there.
Yeah.
totally.
Yeah.
But something I will say that like it almost is in opposition to that. And at the end of the day, I need to say this very clearly and succinctly: be nice to people.
Right.
Be good to
Exactly.
people.
100%.
That's the end of that.
Thank
But
you.
I will say that like these people making up rumors and making the content and talking about all that stuff, like, yo, that's gonna happen. That's gonna exist, and that's gonna be out there. It's on you as a consumer to understand how you're going to take that content and how you're going to feel about it. And if someone's making up, oh yeah, Breath of the Wild 2, they're going to announce it tomorrow, Game Awards, it's going to be called whatever, Ganon's Revenge, and it's going to be released March 2022. If you are listening to this and believe that, that's on you. Honestly, at some point, like it's a fool me once, fool me twice type situation where it's like at some point you got to educate
you take
yourself.
responsibility for yourself.
Yeah.
Like how long has like the world, especially the world of the internet, beat into your head? Don't believe everything you read. Don't believe everything you see. Don't believe everything you hear. It doesn't matter what outlet it is. Don't believe everything, because there's so much opinion mixed in with facts, mixed in with people pushing narratives or whatever the case might be. It's like that's why you're supposed to come to your own conclusions. You're not just supposed to consume something and just that's what's going to happen. Let me get really excited or let me get really angry. And it's like, no, come to your own conclusions, do your own research if you're interested in finding out more about what the heck they're talking about. And if you find out there is nothing there, then guess what? It was probably just them talking about their opinion and you just tuned in at the wrong time and don't have the full context of everything that was being taught. And feel like that's the way about like Jeff Grubb. I'll see like a clip taken out and tossed out there. It's like, okay, that's a clip.
Yeah.
Did you watch the half-hour conversation leading to that statement?
Mhm.
Like a
Yeah.
lot of context missing from the conversation. And again, obviously, people are rewarded for grabbing every 4chan rumor they can, grabbing everything they can, throwing it out there. There's the gaming and leaks subreddit out there that ends up sometimes spreading stuff like that. Although they've gotten a bit more restrictive over some of the stuff they allow at times, but which doesn't really matter because still most of the stuff there's fake anyways. Yeah, you just gotta. I think that's maybe the general message out of this is all of us have to take kind of responsibility for ourselves and how we deal with this stuff, and that's maybe why I've been such a big hype responsibly pusher. And this isn't I'm not advertising the merch. I haven't even linked it to you guys. Like, don't worry about it. It's because the hype responsibly thing to me is all about taking responsibility for yourself. Like, if you get
Yeah, man.
disappointed with the Game Awards tomorrow, like, are you disappointed because it was actually like bad, or are you disappointed because it just didn't have what you wanted? And did you expect something that was unrealistic?
It's so great that you bring this up because honestly, I think the hype responsibly, like how you just explained it, of it is your responsibility to understand your hype levels and what you're doing to yourself. It's the best way to put it. Because to me, I love hype. I'm all about hype.
Well, who doesn't?
And
it's exciting, right? It's a good feeling.
It should be a great thing. It should only be a great thing. And it's because of just all these like the other people's thoughts on it that have turned it into this bad thing. The way I see it is we need to not just look at these events and showcases and be like, oh man, they didn't have this thing, they didn't have this thing, this thing sucks. It's reward them when they do it right. When there is one that's like, whoa, this was a great show. Talk about that, support that. Talk about why it was a great show. Talk about what they did in it, production-wise, marketing-wise, all of that made it something special. And I get so much shit equally, whether I was too hyped and I hyped myself up so I'm disappointed, or, oh, Tim's praising this way too much. People are going to criticize every single thing you say. At the end of the day, find your joy, find your excitement, find what makes you happy, and commit to that as hard as possible.
Yep. And that reminds me where like hype has kind of gotten sort of a negative reputation when it's actually just a positive feeling that might lead to a negative reaction if you don't, do it responsibly. But it's kind of like when I hear people say, "Oh, you only like this game because of nostalgia," and it's like, do you even know what nostalgia is? It's a positive feeling. Like you shouldn't be crapping on nostalgia. I hope that you have nostalgia for everything that you've done in your life because that's good. It's not just reminiscing on the good old days. It's remembering a very fond point in your life and being able to still extract joy from that moment today.
Yeah.
Like that's awesome. And nostalgia doesn't apply just to games, movies, television, life, memories you have of friends. Like, yeah, I do playing tackle football, with buddies back in the day when we had the flag football game. I'll always remember that one flag football game we played out in there, and then we just threw away the flags and started tackling each other. Like, it was crazy fun, and I'm nostalgic for that. And I realized I can't do that today. I'll probably die. But I'm still, like, just the idea of it's exciting to me.
Totally.
So, yeah. So, hype responsibly, everyone. We obviously have the big Game Awards show tomorrow.
Yeah.
I don't care where you guys want to watch it. Watch it by yourself, on the official channels. Watch, I think you guys are doing a live reaction to it, right? I believe, on your end?
Yeah, we are. But hey, forget that. Definitely stick here at Nintendo Prime, man. Y'all are doing a live reaction?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, we
show up for the boys, man.
5 or something like that. Yeah.
This is the squad. Good people here. Thank you all for checking me out today. But no, keep these boys happy because they definitely deserve your time.
Thank you.
I appreciate that, man. Yeah. So we'll be covering the Game Awards tomorrow, guys. At starting with a pre-show at 5 p.m. Central Time. And we're there all the way to the end and beyond. We'll see how crazy things get. You guys know the Game Awards gets crazy. We have our own betting special on that with
yeah, we do.
Where we bet on the awards, and we have a point value system with the awards, and whoever loses, I think
winner dinner
and winner gets pays for a dinner and they go to dinner, and then the loser has to sit in a baby car seat during the podcast for an entire episode.
Oh no.
Yeah.
So that's gonna be interesting. Let's just say neither of us want to lose. I went out and looked at the car seats I have. I just
you do realize that if the past has anything to do with anything, you're definitely winning this. So
we do have the one Game Awards that was unsettled. But I think that's because that year when we were at E3, we just said, or no, that was the E3 betting special, yeah, where we were just too exhausted to care.
Yeah, right.
And we're just like, sorry guys to disappoint you. We are just
welcome to E3.
A lot.
Yeah,
this is just too much. I'm not going to bother to tally. I need to move on. I'm sorry. But yeah, at least it's not like drinking ocean water like the one time.
That was me.
That was
I
bad.
lost
But
it again.
anyways, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. You can catch this podcast everywhere that podcast can be heard because tomorrow the audio version will be up. The re-uploaded version of this on the dedicated Untitled Prime podcast channel will be there as well. Links to all that stuff are down in the description. Links to, by the way, to Tim, to his Twitter account and the Kind of Funny crew and Patreon and all that stuff down in the description. They're fully fan funded. They're an amazing crew out there. I really love everything that they do. Hopefully, this isn't the last time we have Tim and or another member of his crew on our show. And who knows? Maybe someday we pop up over there. We'll see. I don't want to get ahead of myself here.
Yeah.
Try to make a good impression. We'll see what happens. So thank you guys for tuning in. And thank you, Tim, for taking time out of your day. Sorry, I know we went a smidge longer than you wanted to go today. But
It's all good, man.
That was too good of a conversation.
That was the thing. I was telling you guys, I was planning for like an hour, but we can go up to 1 hour and a half, and here we are over 2 hours. I love it, man. This was a blast. Thank you all so much for having me.
All right. Thank you so much, guys. All right. Have a great night, everyone.